Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. Can everyone please stand for the pledge? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approval of the agenda is passed. Approval of the last, we have a couple of them here to cover. Regular meeting, motion to approve minutes from July 26th regular meeting.
Motion.
Do I have a second? That motion passes.
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes.
It passes.
July 26th special meeting, motion to approve minutes.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion pass. Thank you, Stu. August 12th, 2025 special meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
That motion, all in favor? That motion passes. We have one more. August 12th organization meeting. Do I have a motion? So I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. President's remarks. Good morning and welcome to our September board meeting of Board of Directors meeting. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. It's an honor to begin serving as your new president for the coming year. I would like to extend congratulations to my colleagues, Monica Rakowski, who has an excused absence today, Steve Jacobs and Stuart Lackernick on their reelection to the board. I look forward to working closely with them, our general manager, and the entire leadership team as we continue moving our community forward. One of our most important initiatives this year will be the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department South Station. We hope to begin work on that building by the end of this year. This investment is vital to ensuring the continued safety and well-being of Ocean Pines residents for many years to come, and we're excited to see that project get underway. As we transition to the fall, many of us will begin seasonal yard cleanup. I'd like to remind everyone to please be mindful and considerate of your neighbors. Finally, I want to take a moment to recognize a couple individuals who recently passed away, both who made, or three of them who made lasting contributions to Ocean Pines. Joe Reynolds, everyone probably knows and remembers Joe Reynolds from the Ocean Pines Forum, and Tom Stoss from the Ocean Pines Progress. Each provided individual journalism and valuable journalism and preserved the institutional knowledge of our community's history. Their voices will be missed. In addition, I was recently made aware that Dutch Alsveen passed away recently. As many folks know, Dutch was a fixture at our meetings and very vocal, and he had a lot to say and about the betterment of our community, and certainly a huge advocate. Please join me in a moment of silence for these three individuals. Thank you. Moving on, I'd like to
for the invitation, the board and the homeowners for allowing me to come here and speak today. I truly appreciate the opportunity to get in front of you. And should you have any questions, we are always available. We're going to start out with a little presentation about, can't hear me? Is this on? Is this better? Okay, perfect. I'm going to lean forward if that's okay. Oh, bring this here. Okay, so we have a presentation and I also have it on my phone. So if I'm looking down, that is why it's a little bit easier for me to see on this angle. Just a tiny bit about Dealey Insurance. We're, a local, and sorry, next slide, Linda. We are a local independent agency. We have a little bit over 60 associates and we're located in Willards, Maryland. We specialize not only in community associations, but coastal property, hotels, restaurants, hospitality, transportation. But one of our main practices is our community association practice. We insure over 550 community associations, as well as over 4,000 commercial and 11,000 personal individual clients. Next. Located in 18 states, but that could expand. We have the opportunity to go to any state in the country. Part of our team that works on the Ocean Pines Association is Laura Bren, our president. We also have Cindy Hall, who's in the back of the room, our vice president, who's very active and knows this association and the policies just as well as I do. And our director of commercial lines, Michelle Hoffman. But this extends beyond us. And it's okay, next slide. We have a community association advisor. Her name is Melissa Esham, and she is a former property manager who has always kept up with her designations and is active in legislation as well as just community associations in general. And Amy Bonetta, she works closely with John, myself, and the team here at Ocean Pines. Hopefully you never have to meet the claims team, which is rare for Ocean Pines, so that's good. We see community associations with all types of amenities, and that amenities are what can be risky for some insurers. But anything from and everything that Ocean Pines has, from golf courses to pools and marinas, we are comfortable with, and anything that you want to add shouldn't be a problem in the future. One of the things that we do as an agency that we feel sets us apart is every year we treat our associations and our insureds like they're a brand new client. So we dive in and perform the same practice as we would for a new association coming to us. So we audit the existing insurance policy. We review the documents, the bylaws and the declarations. We also help associations should they have any claims challenges, multiple claims. We have on-site management with claims as well. We have a department within our agency. We work closely with the adjusters as well as our insureds to bridge that gap and any questions that may arise during a claim. Thank goodness Ocean Pines has only had a very minimal amount of claims. The most recent, and I think the only one we've had in years, was the floor of the community center. But we also can develop educational materials. Should anyone want any, tips on, just your homes in general, even though they're individually insured, winterization for the people that like to travel elsewhere in the winter, we can provide tips and tools for that as well. We show up, we attend board meetings, anything that we're invited to, we like to participate and are grateful to do so. I think we're okay. Yeah. Just some local affiliations professionally. We're active in the Delmarva Community Association Managers. We attend their monthly meetings, as well as the Community Association Institute. We're members of the Chesapeake Regional chapter, but this is a nationwide chapter. And then, of course, our local chambers of commerce. Tiny bit about the status of the current market, which is ever changing, as everyone has I guaranteed experienced in their personal insurance. This also has carried over to the commercial insurance. And right now we are seeing a flat to 15% increase in policy premiums. This has been I know it still seems high, but a relief since 2020, 2021, where we were really seeing a spike due to unprecedented times. Liability lines in the coastal habitational markets are also seeing increases and restriction in coverages. So mainly they're seeing nuclear verdicts, and several individuals tend to, if you rent, tend to bring lawsuits versus if you're a homeowner. And so we've also seen directors and officers, challenges as well. Mhm. We like to communicate. As I mentioned before, we can send out any type of communication for any type of tip that you're looking for. So if you have any questions about your personal home, we can also help with that. Just email me and we can get you some information. Mhm. As I mentioned before, we treat every association renewal like a brand new renewal. And there is a process that we go through with John and the team at Ocean Pines where we gather the information. We analyze any different exposures, such as, the building of the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department, any changes that might happen. We take it out to the market every year to ensure the carrier is the most competitive and provides the most broad coverages for the association. Then we implement the program with approval from the association. And then we have our account services, and we work closely with Ruth Ann a lot and John on any changes or questions that might affect the insurance. Premium summary. As I mentioned before, we were seeing a flat to 15% increase. The positive about Ocean Pines is we saw a 5.7% increase over last year. We still considered that a win. Oh, that went louder. So now everyone could probably hear me a little bit better. We could still consider that a win because it was lower than the 15%, but we won't feel settled until we're delivering lower than last year's premium. So we're still working that and hope that the market continues with this stabilization and we can provide even better results next year. We're going to break down the policies. When Linda switches, we'll start with the property. Okay, the property policy, we insure over $29 million of property coverage. So that encompasses all the buildings, all the business personal property, any type of property coverage from here to the beach club in Ocean City and the marina and so on and so forth. Being close to the ocean and the coastal waters and our even right outside, flood insurance is required on many of the buildings. We do have about $12 million of flood insurance for the high risk flood buildings. The Maryland Condominium Association or Condo Act requires every association to cover a employee dishonesty, what they say is so it covers anyone that has access to the funds. Should they steal from an association, it would make the association whole. And so the association has $3 million of crime coverage for this. Next slide. All right. General liability. So this is your slip, trip, and fall bodily injury. We have 2 million each occurrence and 4 million aggregate. And we also have, and you'll see later on, an umbrella that sits over that increases this limit. Auto liability. Ocean Pines has a fleet of autos, including the police vehicles that are included on this auto policy. Directors and officers, this protects the board or any officer against decisions made on behalf of the association, and this protects their personal assets while working on behalf of an association. Cyber liability. I'm sure everyone has probably in this room experienced some sort of email phishing for information or click here, which would allow a criminal to get into your system to hack it and take your banking information. Ocean Pines is protected against that as well. And then we have the marina operators liability, and that's for right by the yacht club. Inland marine. This covers all of the tools and equipment that move from area to area. And there's about $2.6 million in coverage there. And then we have the storage tank down at the marina, the pollution liability should that fail. Camp liability, my children attended the Ocean Pines camps, and we were always a fan, and they had a great time every year, properly covered. This year, we were able to get an excess policy, so an umbrella policy that sits over that camp liability. So we were able to broaden that coverage this year. And then we have a accident policy should anyone get hurt during the camp, so $25,000 for medical. Police professional liability is coming up for renewal right now, and that's a $3 million limit for each person or wrongful act with an annual aggregate of $3 million. Workers' compensation. This is something that the association should be proud of. When we first started, it was almost double the price, and it has significantly come down to the hard work of the association. We met initially and we talked about the types of claims that we're going into are being claimed on, and we put together a program with the association on preventative measures. And we have seen over the years the results of their hard work. So that I'm very happy as an agent to see that. And finally, we have an umbrella policy of $20 million that sits over your liability policies. All right. Should you have any questions about your personal insurance, we have a team at the office that can help with that as well. So you could just give our office a call. You always get a live person when you call, and they will direct you to someone on the personal lines team. And we give back. We love to be in this community. My parents have been residents for 20 years. I've been a resident as well. And we just are in the community volunteering, and we just love where we live. And that's just more of us. So there. And that's it, I think. So if there are any questions, please email me. I will respond directly, or someone from our team will respond. You can find my information on the website, but it's also there, mmuller@dealyinsurance.com, and you can call and text as well. So, all right, are you gonna?
No, I was just going to say thank you very much, Megan. I appreciate it. It's a huge expense. I know probably everyone in this room here, from a homeowner standpoint, certainly feel the impact of your personal insurance on your on their houses. And it's always interesting when you have no claims for many years and the rate just keeps climbing and climbing. But thank you guys for what you do for us.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, we can move on to the general manager's report. We won't ask them to stand.
Thank you. Before I start, and I see the chief getting up there to his podium, the chief's going to introduce the Verizon team. There have been questions on the cell tower, and we do have some updates on that. So the chief, he's going to introduce his Verizon team. Chief?
Good morning, everybody. We were going to have an individual from Verizon in person with us due to extenuating circumstances. He is joining us on Teams, but I'd like to introduce a gentleman who I've been working with very closely on this project, Mr. Paul Plymouth. He is here to talk about a couple of questions that we have presented to him about just how the tower is going to be able to help from a coverage point. So, Mr. Plymouth, with that, if you would please take it away.
Thanks for the intro, Chief. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Paul Plymouth for Verizon. Had the opportunity to speak in front of everyone and answer some questions during the town hall in July. I had all intentions on being there this morning, but due to some car troubles yesterday coming back from Cambridge, I had to go down the virtual route. Just as a follow-up to last month, I know that we shared some maps and there were a lot of questions regarding the maps. I love working with our wireless team because they are so smart and they can produce so much good information. But I'll also say that the maps that we shared in July weren't necessarily the best maps for the average consumer. And also it could have used a little less detail than what was actually produced. And again, like that's our engineers, they're super smart. What they produce is more so for internal stuff and also for the folks at Milestone. But for the average layman, I know that there were a lot of questions and we tried to answer them the best we could, but still looking at the maps, there's still some information that left to be desired. So in working with our engineers, we came up with 2 more maps to be able to illustrate before and after. And yeah, I'll walk through the maps and then explain why they're different. So for this first map here on the left, you can see a lot more yellow than you do green. Green would be the best coverage, yellow would be good. There's some instances of blue, which is just fair, and then red is poor. That's the before. And then on the right side, the after the tower is completed, you see a lot more of the best. And then you'll see some good, but there's a little less of the good. The largest chunk that you'll see is just of the best, and it is quite a large portion of Ocean Pines that will be covered in that best ranking. I will note that for the previous map that you guys saw in July, you did see more blue. There were 5 shades of coloring versus now what you see 4. And that also goes along to this next slide here. You see quite a bit of the yellow with some blue in there and a little less green for the before, or in this case, current. But then with the tower placed, you see a lot more green. I'd say a majority green. Behind that, you would get the yellow with very little instances of blue in there and no red. So you may be wondering, what is the stuff at the top that I see here? The low band AWS, and the other slide, I believe, said 900 or 700 number in there. And again, like why the 2 different maps, the July map to what we're seeing now in September. The 2 maps represent 2 different frequencies that the tower would be broadcasting. Towers typically broadcast what's known as low band. So they cover a wider area. Versus what you would see in a lot of cities or even in Ocean City, small cells that you see on utility poles, that is high band, but they just don't travel that far. Versus low band with towers, they cover a much greater distance, and that's what they're designed to do too. So that's why, technically speaking, there are the 2 versions of the maps covering the 2 different frequencies the tower would be utilizing, the 2 different frequencies that the tower would be utilizing. Why we went from 5 colors down to 4. The 5 color maps from July, again, were more technical. These have just been revised to be a little more user-friendly for the layman, which even as someone that works for Verizon, I totally appreciate. But yeah, I challenge you to even go back and look at the old legends. You'll see that they are different, and you'll see that this one just does a better job of showing before and after and in a much more appreciable manner. I think beforehand, more folks were focused on just a 1 mile radius. And we were saying, hey, no, there's going to be a larger benefit just to that 1 mile radius. I think these maps really help to illustrate that more than what you saw in July. Some other notes that I wanted to bring up. There was a question that was submitted by Chief Robinson regarding the tower height. And if we made the tower a little bit higher, would that actually improve service? That's something our team is looking at. The tower that's proposed here is 143 feet. But we're also evaluating if we did a height of 175 feet as well. Anything higher than that, believe it or not, actually tends to do more harm than good. So some things that could happen is based upon the placement of the tower will help to define the area of coverage. And it goes back to what I was talking about in July with the Etch-a-Sketch from back in the day. You have a ton of different plots and how they all come together to make a nice image. And then the challenge of adding in a new dot that doesn't compromise the existing image that you have, as well as jeopardize the image that you want to portray. So if we did something too high, it may be something that ultimately impacts the current image that we have. If we went higher, it goes out further. And we do have 2 existing towers, one towards the Berlin area, and then the other on the other side of the Isle of Wight. But that's something that we are definitely looking into and definitely considering. And we can provide some updates if we decide to, in fact, go with 175 feet of height versus 143. And then there's also a totally understandable question of if there's anything that can be done on a temporary basis to help the situation. We understand that the cell coverage right now in Ocean Pines is nearly unusable. It's something that on our end, and I can speak for AT&T and T-Mobile in saying that when we are working on network infrastructure and deploying our network, we always like to do things proactively instead of reactively. And this is a situation where, unfortunately, we are all just trying to be reactive to the situation. With that said, and now I go back to just putting on my Verizon hat. With that said, unfortunately, there's not much that can really be done right now because of how bad the current state of the network is for the area. To put things in an analogy and to put a personal spin on it, and this just opens up about myself, I'm going to use the analogy of needing to lose some weight. Because my doctor in the past was like, oh, hey, you could lose a little weight. And I just heard that as, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Now I recently heard, no, you need to lose some weight. And that holds some different weight than, hey, a little suggestion versus something that you absolutely need to do. So imagine the need to lose weight as looking for a way to improve the coverage. Do I hear some chuckling in the background? Does someone else identify with me? If not, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to losing some weight and going back to the Ocean Pine situation, something needs to be done to improve the network. So in terms of like flushing out the body or doing some supplemental things, and in case of the network deployment, having some of the existing towers begin to just focus a little bit on Ocean Pines, that's not going to have any appreciable impact. That would be the equivalent of losing about 5 to 10 pounds. Not bad if you're looking to lose a little weight, but if you need to lose a significantly higher amount of weight, let's say 100 pounds, you have to do something drastic in the form of diet and exercise. I won't say that I need to lose 100 pounds, despite my fit figure that you see on camera. Fortunately, you only see from here on up. And I'm not saying I need to lose 100 pounds, but my body would certainly appreciate if I lost 100 pounds. But all all jokes aside there, something serious needs to be done in the form of alleviating the stress of the network. And that's why putting in a tower is going to be best. So that way, in terms of some cleanup work that can be done to address other parts of Ocean Pines, we can then look at having the surrounding existing towers to see how they can be in supplement to help out those other areas that may need some additional help, and do so without jeopardizing the current coverage and capacity they provide to their intended areas. Which on the map you would see is more towards the Berlin area, and then just outside the map to the east-northeast, just north of the Isles of Wight.
All right, I think, all right, Paul, I think right now, like, if we have a time for maybe some questions from the board members, I think I have a couple questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stu,
Thank you, John. I have a question. Will this project, being that it's a safety issue, does it fast track the permitting process so we can get this done quicker?
Yeah, so what Milestone Communication, what they're working on in conjunction with us is a timeline of construction and completion. When it comes to some of the permitting, I know that Delegate Wade Hartman is committed to helping to expedite things from the state and local level as much as possible, which would certainly help out. But some of the other elements like ordering steel, unfortunately, due to some supply chain issues and just what's happening in the world with tariffs, there's going to be the timeline for that is what it is. But we also would not proceed forward with what you can call step one, which is finalizing design and proceeding forward with ordering steel unless we actually received that approval from the HOA.
Elaine?
I just had a question about the maps, just so that I, understand what our coverage is going to be. I mean, because it does look like it's an improvement, but are these maps encompass the entire Ocean Pines or just a specific area? And
The maps would cover the entire, the maps that you saw there would cover the entire Ocean Pines.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I guess a two-part question. What I heard you just say is with some support from the board, we need to know what that is because we're ready to kind of give that consent as soon as possible. We want to make sure this board is not holding this project up. My second part of the question is, and I'm not a technical guy, but so when you go into Ocean City for these events, right, you see these, you mentioned these temporary towers. Why is that not an option here?
Yeah, so those cell on wheels, they work in conjunction with the small cells and other existing infrastructure that we have in Ocean City. Those temporary deployments are really, they're really good for a small area, and they're more so designed for like their uses for special events or town fairs, et cetera. But they would not be the solution for something like Ocean Pines that needs something more holistic. And going back to my example of the weight loss, it's more like one of those supplementary things that can help with some additional weight loss. But in terms of the more holistic picture, in terms of putting together a routine that really becomes more sustainable, yeah, that's what needs to be done right now.
I got you about the weight loss, but we have folks that have no service in this community on a daily basis. So, if there's absolutely anything, we're struggling here and we're looking for you. I'm just hoping it's not a function of AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon not wanting to kind of step up and hey, Ocean Pines folks can wait. If there's anything, absolutely, we would like to pick up every rock and try to figure out if there's a way. But we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us so far. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so they do best with special events. So let's say you guys for 4th of July, where I believe you guys have fireworks and a few other events. If you wanted support for something like that, because there's going to be a concentration of people in one dense area, I can talk to the chief about the process of requesting something like a cow to come out and support, cow being the cell on wheels. But for more of what you guys would define as a temporary solution would not be what we define as a temporary solution, because those really just go up for the special events. And you guys want something to help out between now to the date of the tower construction and tower completion. And we don't realistically have something like that that's going to be able to support for that longer period of time. But if you do have events that are going to have a swell of people coming and do in an dense environment, and in a dense environment, we can begin the process of requesting some of that support to be able to help out for that day or for that weekend.
I've been in regular communication with the tower company, Milestone Communications, even as early as just 2 days ago, and they're people ask me if the board is ready to move forward because they want to do their next step. So what they're looking for is just a commitment or an approval from the board to move forward and take it to the next step from their end so they can start their planning process.
I got a question.
Yeah, we're definitely, we're ready to move forward. I mean, we don't want to be holding this thing up.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a question.
Okay, with that,
Rick has a question.
Yeah. From what I understand in this whole process, that once there is an approval or that we're going to move forward, that it's an 18-month project. My concern is more so on the side of safety. And there are as many instances that I've seen in the Pines where there are emergency calls or services to our first responders where the calls are dropped. And that is a big concern for me, that part, but then also the part of an 18-month build out. And, I know we talked briefly of being able to expedite this process. Is there a way, and maybe Chief, you can answer this or not, but based on safety of our community and those that have emergency situations that could be life-threatening, or calls are dropped or calls cannot be made. So is there somebody at the county level that you may know or can partner with, or we can partner with, that could expedite that process? And I understand the tariffs and I understand equipment and supply chain and I get all that. But there's also workarounds, and I know that for a fact in these types of situations, especially when it comes to safety. So I'm just putting it out there if you may know somebody or if that's something in consideration that can be looked at.
that's what started this whole ball rolling is for safety and what I observed when I came here. And I will do everything in my power as your police chief from a safety point of view to get this ball rolling as quickly as I can. So, and I will take that back to the tower company when I speak to them on Monday that, that the official is that Ocean Pines wants to move forward with this.
And just to add a little extra color, so the 18 months, it's more theoretical. And the reason why I say that is because there's no day, we don't have a day one of knowing when to start things from. And I know that we had the town hall in July. The town hall was great. We thought it was very successful. We got pretty good feedback. We're having the follow-up now. If the board decided to postpone the vote until, let's say, the next meeting, that's fine too. But we don't have an actual day one of knowing when we would actually be able to actually time out, to truly begin the timeline to say, okay, hey, given this point in time, step one would take 30 days, but at this point, given where we are, it can actually be moved up to instead 21. The work that we would do with the county and with the state, we wouldn't necessarily start any of that working on the applications unless we actually got that step one, day one, which would all start with the formal approval. So that 18 months, again, it's more theoretical. We would have a better sense of what the timeline is and what can be sped up once we actually know what day one is.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And if anyone, if folks have additional questions, Chief knows how to get in touch with me. More than happy to answer any question. And I'm sure that I can't speak for Milestone, but I believe that they would not have any issues at all providing some periodic updates as to what's going on, what items may be needed from a state or local perspective in terms of permitting, and letting folks know how they can get involved to help expedite things. I'm pretty sure Milestone would not have an issue with that at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We continue with the general manager's report.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. So just to start off, I always like with this first page, make it more than that. Here's just comments that I've made over the years. The amenities are the economic engine of Ocean Pines. They're driven by our senior management team and of course the result of constructive board and the association. So everything we do, it pretty much comes under that. Turn the page. All right, so we always start off with this, the initiatives and where we're at. Linda will take you through the back of this, but I do want to talk about the initiatives today. I just want to say, how do we approach everything that we're going to talk about today? Everything is approached strategically. What we've looked at and what we've been doing for years is to enhance the homeowner experience through the structure, the amenities, our product, examples, golf, aquatics, racket sports, food and beverage, obviously now bocce and others. We have focused on drainage, mailboxes, bulkheads and roads and jump-started all of them from where we were 7 years ago. Before we turn the page, I just want to highlight too, and good thank you to Megan on everything she does and her team with us. They truly partner with us. But the insurance, she showed you how much it is. It's a big number. It's a big number on the assessment. Comes out to about $80 on your assessment. One thing I can tell you on this is we've never gone back on lower insurance or lower insurance limits. We've enhanced it. And they've done a good job keeping it within the price. So it's about 10% of your association, put it in perspective, right? Turn the page. All right, so the firehouse, we need an update on that, and it is being worked on every day to now till we get shovel in the ground. So the time frame is somewhere around the winter. It's been pushed back about a month or two. We're still working with the engineers and the plans and with the fire department. What's happening right now, we've met with the technical review committee last week. Planning commission meeting is October 2nd. What is left to do? Submit plans for construction permits after that meeting on the 2nd. Confirm costs, mainly on the plumbing and mechanicals mid-October, and then you evaluate the proposal. We're still kind of in the ballpark, the parameters that I've been talking to everybody about. So this is a big one, and it's very important, Ocean Pines. Turn the page. All right, helicopter pad. I did mention this briefly. Eddie came to me, the fire department came with us. This talk about safety, and this is definitely something that we're going to go forward with. So the county has a larger areas needed to land. Our current pad is not big enough for the helicopter. So we are looking at, if you're familiar with the area, as you go south, and you can see it down there by the yellow sign in the right corner, they've asked us to put the helicopter, which we will do, on that road. So we will enhance it. The fire department also, and I don't know if Joey, I can't see behind me if Joey's Joey's there. Maybe Joey jump in. Joey has asked about something and talk about safety. I'm going to let Joey jump in. He's actually working on this. I think this is really good what they're doing. Joe.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, President.
We can do better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank
Morning,
you. I know you all came here to see me today. One of the new things that has been done in the town of Ocean City is they've created what's called an IFR landing zone up at Northside Park. And what that is and what that stands for, I have no idea. It's above my head, pun intended. But essentially, it allows the helicopter to come in and just use its instrumentation to land during bad weather events. Right now, they have that on the island, but there's no other spot in the county that has that. So there's a new emergency manager. Director Chris Schaefer has taken over down at the county level, and he's exploring the options of trying to create a site at the north end, the south end, in the middle of the county. So that way we can have more access to the medevac helicopter even during inclement weather. And something to keep in mind is that What we might consider inclement weather is going to be completely different from an aviation standpoint. If the ceiling is too low, if there's too much wind in one direction or another direction, can all impact it. So it could look like a beautiful day outside, but they still might not be able to fly. Having an IFR landing zone would allow their pilots to be able to navigate through many more conditions than normally they would be. So we will keep John and the board and the rest of the community informed on any updates on that as well.
John?
Thank you, Joe. Just kidding. So, oh, sorry. Yes, Steve.
Maybe I missed this, but I didn't, is what we're looking at to expand the current landing pad? Or are we looking to have a different location?
Yeah, so, and then Joe would jump right in. So if you look bottom right, middle right, where the helicopter pad is now,
Yeah.
we're going to move it to the south road, and it's going to be enhanced. It'll be a bigger landing along with what Joe is saying. So Joe, if you want to jump, so we're
Sure.
enhancing it. It'll be a new one.
So the current pad, several years ago, was expanded and made an actual pad. Fortunately, unfortunately, in that process, Maryland State Police have upgraded their helicopters, and so they went from basically a two-person team helicopter with a patient in the back to now a helicopter large enough to carry 4 personnel plus a patient and sometimes another provider. With that said, the pad that we currently have is not fit appropriately for that side of the helicopter. They can still land, but it is a challenge. Depending on the wind direction and things like that, there have been instances where that helicopter has come down and it has slipped off the side of the roadway where they've had to come back up and land back down. That pad, the width of it is about 25 feet. What MSP recommends is, in an ideal situation, 100 by 100-foot area. The area that we're proposing here is not going to necessarily meet that 100-foot area, but it should be, I think we're looking at about a 40 by 40 area, which should give it ample space to be able to land and a much more flatter surface to not have to navigate if it accidentally a wheel slips off the edge or anything like that. It's just going to be, flat land on either side of it. So it's going to be a big improvement, and also allows us a little bit more comfort level with approaching the helicopter, not trying to stay off the side of it with watching the rotors and things like that as well.
So the location is going to be pretty much the same. It's really.
Yes.
It's going to be shifted. So if you look at the firehouse, there is a path that goes across where the fire trucks take. It's going to be off the side of that path now, rather than in the middle of the lane to go to firehouse lane.
Thank
20
you.
yards away. Just want to point out on that 10 to 15,000, originally that was kind of ballpark for just moving it. The digital mapping would be more, but they're working on grants. So we'll keep you updated on that. But right now, we're definitely going to be in the process of moving that within the near future. Front page. Thank you, Joe. Front page. Each club. So I've talked about and I've mentioned, and I've heard other people say it 7 years ago when we had a different perspective on golf. I said it's a gem. It's an Ocean Pines gem. Well, here's the diamond in the rough right here. So we have strategically approached everything. It's now time for food and beverage. We just finished racket sports. Now food and beverage is on the radar. So what I'm asking today, and they did have a very good year at the Beach Club. Their sales were exceeded last year's, and it was a tough weather, especially for the beach and the Beach Club. But what I am doing today and what I'm coming forward, and we have received a lot of emails to info at Ocean Pines, on the deck, the boardwalk surrounding the building. We have said we had it on the radar for the next year or two. And so I am coming forward today to the board and requesting board just approval to move forward with suggested renovations to the Beach Club, which I'll talk to you about now. So the first phase, I'm in the fiscal year 25. What I'm requesting permission is to move forward with getting a architectural and engineering plans for phase 1 and phase 2 of what on the structure of what I'm looking at the Beach Club. I will also tell you about what our partners at Touch of Italy is planning to some degree on the interior. So right now, today, what I'm asking for is approximately $75,000 for architectural and engineering plans, as well as work that is needed in the basement that was identified well before the Touch Italy contract. So I'm requesting 75, at least in the ballpark, and I will come back obviously with the contracts and all that, but to move forward on that. Sure, Wayne.
I just wanted to,
That was my fault.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to, no, I think you're talking about
Two-phase.
Ocean Pines will do the structure,
Yes.
but that Touch of Italy or whoever, is our provider there will be taking care of dressing it up on the inside, that's kind of their portion of it. So we're not really putting money into our vendor, but into the structure itself.
Yeah, so good point. Let me, and I will expand. So first, I just wanted to talk about the fiscal year 25. Obviously, with architectural plans and engineering plans, there's a second part to that. So I will, to answer your question, but correct, we as the leasers, we're responsible for the structure. And I've talked about that since we've done this contract. And I know we get some questions on, or we read on Facebook. We're responsible for the structure, and we will continue to be responsible for our structure. But you're right. And I'll explain a little more, and they will come in a future board meeting and talk to you also. They would be responsible for the interior. They would develop, they would enhance, they would invest in the kitchens, the bathrooms, the bars, that type of nature. What I'm going to talk to you about today is the structure, which is part of our replacement, our DMA study, and which is coming up over the next year or two anyway. So you're correct on that, and I'm glad you're highlighting it. I can give you some high-level numbers. But with these architectural plans, the engineering, I do want to look at that structure, that entire boardwalk around there, the deck. I need plans for that. I need engineering reports. There are pilings there, and that's what we need to look at over the next year so that we are ready, assuming approval, to enhance that building next year. But this is part of replacement. It's in the DMA. The elevator is not, obviously the elevator would be from an ADA perspective, which we need to do. But we talked about this. The board came to me several years ago. What are you doing with the upstairs? We did talk about it 7 years ago. What I'm putting out here now, we are putting out here, is how to enhance that and utilize the upstairs.
John, I would just like to mention that you mentioned the DMA study. And I think it's important for our owners to know that this is work that has to occur, that we're going to have to do over the next couple of years. And we have not put very little, I'll be nice that we put very little into the Beach Club over the last couple of years. And if anyone's been there, you know that there's a fair amount of work that, can be done. It's a beautiful facility. We have great parking. And I think it's time for us to start to make investment in that facility as well.
And John, you're right. And I've been around, I've been doing this 25 years. I started off in food and beverage. We really have not put much in there. We did put the roof in maybe 10 years ago. Very good investment. They did the bathrooms. I think Bailey did it. So that was somewhere around 16. Outside of that, we did replace that deck years ago. The deck is up for replacement. It's a big number. I need the engineering reports for that. Now, I am, like everything else we've done, I am looking at enhancement. I'm looking at, we vision a double deck on the back. You're looking at the upstairs there above that blue sign. You see the windows. I'm looking at accordion doors. I'm looking at a deck up there. What will that deck give you? That'll give you a view of the ocean. There'll be a bar up there, but I want Touch Italy to talk about the inside. As Elaine said, they will be investing in inside. It's a big number that they'll be investing in. We're doing the structure. It's a good number too. I'm not going to deny that, but it's there. It's part of the DMA study. That deck all around, we're not just talking the double deck, the boardwalk, I'll call that all around. You see people walking on it and it wraps around the building. It goes to the pool. That all needs to be replaced. And it, like John said, it's part of the DMA study and it's coming up over the next year or two anyway. The elevator is needed. That's our building. We need to invest in it. That's all ADA. That elevator, just to throw a number out there, with construction would probably be about $225,000. That's what an elevator costs.
Rick,
Yeah, thanks, John. And to your point regarding the ADA, just so the membership knows, that is a requirement.
Oh, yes, we
with
should have
that
had it.
To make sure that we are compliant. And so that is a necessity on that building. So I just want to advise everybody that it is something that is a compliant measure that is needed and required.
Just think about that upstairs with accordion door as a bar. There would be a kitchen up there, but I want Touchy Lee to come in and talk about that. So I'm just looking for permission to go forward, and we're talking 75 to 100,000. I have to do the basement. I've been down there. I need to do it this winter, and I need to put a dehumidifier system down there.
Steve, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. John, and this is based upon your description, this is a couple of years down the road, but just to be clear, the intent, working with Touch of Italy, particularly on the second floor, would be to promote use of that second floor facility year round, and provides potentially an increased revenue stream for Ocean Pines. Is that fair?
Yeah,
That's
correct
down the
statement.
road, I
No, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's better when somebody else does. So, and Steve, it won't be just the upstairs. They will be redoing the downstairs too. There's a lot of equipment for kitchens that need to go in both. They understand they will be doing that. The upstairs needs 2 ADA compliant bathrooms. They will be doing that. But they'll come forward to you. But you're correct. We are estimated increased revenue stream for them, which obviously we would then get a piece of. But just to point out now, and this has been made clear with Touch of Italy, and I deal with Rick there, just like what we talked about, the basis of this contract, we're investing in this building. There will be a lease cost to them for this, and that would basically, just a lease piece on the rent would cover our depreciation on what we believe we're going to invest in there. The piece you're talking about is we do get a percentage of their sales, their non-alcohol sales. We believe that would be a plus to us, yes.
So I'll put a motion for $75,000,
75 to 100. So
75
I
to
got the base.
$100,000 for architectural engineering drawings. Do I have a motion? Second,
Second.
any discussion?
Just to be clear, that also includes John's statement about the basement, correct? The 75 to 100,000.
Yes, and I apologize. Right, so that includes the basement. The basement right now, there's several things I need to address, which was highlighted before we signed the contract. But yeah, there's about 25,000 down there.
That's in addition to the architectural.
That's additional, yeah.
Engineering cost.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, board. Thank you, association. Okay, turn the page. You want to say it on that page or go to the next one? Okay, so I do have more, as Linda's pointing out. So we just highlight the food and beverage. I was not able to go, unfortunately, but I heard it was very good. The chef's table steak dinner held on Saturday, September 13th. I did get the opportunity to have the dinner at home. I thought it was excellent, but I'm not going to tell everybody about it unless anybody asks me. But they're scheduled to hold more. I know they already put one out about a bourbon. I hope everybody goes. It was excellent. Forecast, food and beverage is forecasted to cover depreciation, our expenses, and to be in the black. I see the questions I get from budget and finance. Kind of surprised at a little bit, but I do get it. And I do know one of the biggest roles I have is to repeat, and I'm fine with it. This contract with Touch Italy, and we put it out there during the budget, it covers our depreciation. That's the rent. That number is somewhere around 350, 370, 380. It's a rolling number each year. And you just heard me say, they will cover that with the money we're going to put in there on the beach club. It will be an increase to their rent. So they covered the depreciation. In addition to that is a calculation. It's a calculation that's, quite honestly, it's the law. We can only get a percentage of non-alcoholic sales. And obviously, we worked up that calculation, and we do get that money, and we get it monthly. I'm forecasting that we're probably going to be favorable with that number, somewhere around $160,000, $180,000. And again, I still have most of the year to go, or they have. That's in addition to your depreciation. That's money extra. We've never seen that. So there's no secrecy, there's no whatever, it's basics, it's a couple numbers. I thought I put that out there, I will continue. I don't want anybody to feel that something's being withheld. I give forecasts on it. We've never seen that before. So if there is anything, and I will continue to answer those questions, hopefully today, but if anybody has questions on it, I'll try to answer it. And of course, that money is going to be reinvested in food and beverage, where we really haven't. All right, let's move on to next. So I'm sorry, just go back on the page. So where are we with the yacht club and the country club? So again, it's over 2 phases, 2 separate years. For the country club, and we talked about this, and right outside the windows here, we did put a patio in. When we built the clubhouse, we did talk about a pavilion out there, an overhang, whether it's shade, whatever way you want to describe it. Touch Italy has spoken to me about it. They would like to have that. It would be a shade structure, whatever you want to call it, a weather structure. It would be a pavilion. It would be wood. I believe it would be really nice. Under that, they would have their, well, again, that's on them. They'll talk to you about it, a pizza oven or some type of structures there. But the pavilion, I'd like to go forward on that. We're estimating that pavilion would be somewhere between $75,000 to $100,000. I would like to do that over this winter, if you give me permission to go forward.
Motion for $75,000 to $100,000 for the shade structure for the golf club. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Well,
Oh, discussion. Yeah, sorry, Steve. Sorry about that.
Steve?
I'm a little unclear as to what we're approving here. If Touch of Italy is going to come in at some point and tell us this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to use it. I'd sort of like to have that information
Sure.
before we're going to approve the.
Yeah, I understand.
Some sort of building that's may run the risk of sitting there fallow because we don't agree with what Touch of Italy wants to do.
So look at it this way, just like what we did at Racket Sports, so we constantly are putting in, and we're looking at more shade structures. You have a beautiful patio out there. This would be a shade structure. It'd be somewhere where we would sit under. The furniture is already there. What would be in there? They're looking at a pizza oven. They're looking at some type of a flat top, like a Blackstone or something like that. Somewhere out there where they can enhance when the golfers come around the turn, whether it's drinks and food, they will do that. The electric, the gas is there. We put that in when we built it. We had plans to put in some type of, I don't know what to call it, a fireplace or whatever. So I hope that answering that is we would have did the structure anyway for people to sit out there in the shade, have drinks, enjoy that beautiful pond and the golf. They're looking at, and they'll talk to us about it, but that would be on them, putting a pizza oven out there, as well as some type of grill or flat top.
Okay, so you're talking about this area right over here where the chairs and table are located. You're not talking about on the other side of the clubhouse where the TV sets have just been put in.
Correct. So there's this second patio here, which, when we did it, we waited, we wanted to see with whoever we partnered with, what their ideas would be with it. So now we do. They have a vision. It's very similar to what we would think of, but correct, it's there. The other one already has the sales. I spoke to you about that 5 years ago. That was paid by the company that does the advertising out there. So that was covered by them, the furniture, the first TV, the 2 TVs that are out there, Touch Italy put those in. And I didn't hear anything about a TV on the second one, but I'm sure that's going to be a part of their plan that they'll talk to us about, but that would be on them.
Well, I have to say, my preference would be to get this all done in one ball of wax.
Okay.
Your request, as well as what Touch of
Okay.
Italy is going to do, it gives us a much better idea as to what's going to happen.
That's fine. I'll have them in. They know whether it's next month, and we'll definitely, whether if they're ready on the other stuff, but definitely for this, and we'll do it hand in hand. Sure.
Stuart?
Yeah, John, just to be clear for our homeowners, this is not just a straight shade structure. This would also be, in addition to a shade structure, a food and beverage outlet that would also be a revenue generator right over here.
Well said, Stuart. Yes. Yes.
Elaine?
And I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, that when the patio was put out, it was originally looking to put a structure there,
Correct.
but, you know, as things, I guess, escalated financially, it was determined we'll do it down the road. So it was always meant to be a shaded area for
Correct.
people coming in, whether they were going inside to get a drink or a sandwich, could sit outside in the beautiful weather. So.
Correct. There was at times, we talked about a tent, we talked about different types of ideas. Obviously, I was looking at that with the prior, whatever. It did start off really good, but correct. This is a joint, but regardless, I believe having something out there would definitely enhance for the golf. But you're right. Stuart's right and everybody else.
Since we had a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain because I don't have enough information about yes or no.
All right.
That motion passes.
I understand sometimes they got to see pictures. All right. Thank you, board. Thank you, everybody. And I'll get touch with Lean here next month, and they'll give you sketches or whatever you need. I'd have one more. Just one more.
Stuart has a question.
Yeah, John, just to be clear, in addition to the two things that we just approved, plus the construction of the fire department's new Southside Firehouse, this is a bold and aggressive move to get stuff done. I just wanted to make sure that everybody here seated understands what we're trying to accomplish here. Safety, cell tower, safety, firehouse, increase the experience for our association members and the public with the two things that we just approved here at the clubhouse. Thank you.
Yeah, and
I'm not quite sure it's aggressive. I think it was a plan. It's revenue generating opportunity that we believe that we're moving forward with.
it's part of the strategic plan. Let me just put it all into perspective for everybody here, and I already did this for the board or whatever. We have the DMA study. The DMA study is coming up. I believe Linda's going to talk to you about it. I think now she has a date. It's somewhere at the end of October. I need that tool. I need that information for the next budget. We all need it, not just me. With that said, with the discussions I've had with the DMA team over the past year, Steve and I, and looking at and talking to other homeowners associations, specifically down in Florida, I believe I have an understanding at this time where the DMA study will come out. Of course, we have to go through the ritual or whatever. And assuming nobody pivots on me or anything changes, everything I'm coming forward with is pretty much would be handled from our reserves. We've talked about the fire department. And always looking at our assessment and what this means on our assessment. Pretty much everything I said in here, there is some new capital, but everything pretty much here, the big numbers are coming out of replacement where they would have came out anyway. So we are looking at the entire financial situation. I don't just come in here and say, oh, I'd like to do this, or we would like to do that. It's all part of the picture, and it's all tied in with the DMA study and the assessment and the budget. Yep. I got one more. If I should quit while I'm ahead, but I got one more and I'll be quick. So the yacht club, and a lot of this has been out there. I've heard people actually come up to me at the yacht club and they've questioned it. What the food and beverage contractor would like to do and has asked us is that to enhance the service, the quality of the food, obviously the temperature of the food, for that patio, for the pool area, is a building. You could call it small, you can call it big, everything's relative. But a certain size building out there with a kitchen to supply that demand, to enhance the service, the food, and to relieve the stress on the kitchen inside. It's no secret, especially in the beginning when they were packed. And I only heard that first weekend, and I happened to be there with my family. There was some time getting the food out of the kitchen. I believe that hasn't happened to that degree anymore. So that would take the stress off the kitchen. So they are asking for that. Obviously, we would be the structure. They would be the kitchen. They would be the internal. The structure would be us. I'm trying to get estimates on what it is if, and again, this would be part of what I'm asking to go forward with today, to look more into it. It is something that they believe and we could have by next summer. Obviously, if it didn't finish, and I know what it took to get that tiki bar done, they would still be operational, but they believe they will have it. They will do the interior kitchen, but we're estimating high level right now, and this is what I'm asking permission to go forward. If we, as an association, agree, this is something we would have. Our cost for the structure itself would probably be about $125 for that building. The interior for them, for the equipment and everything, probably would be that, if not more. That would be them, though. I'm talking just about a building. Structure.
Jeff?
John, I liked how you preference this one. One of my pet peeves, I mean, when you go anywhere, you get served lukewarm food, completely ruins the experience. So if this can alleviate the stress on the existing kitchen and ensure that everybody at the swimming pool, around the tiki bar, gets served hot food, it's a big plus to the experience.
Yep. So we have a motion for $125,000 for the yacht club to move forward on a food facility. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I got another question. As best as you can tell us, John, is it the kit, what you're describing would be added to or reconfigured from the bar that's near the tiki bar? In other words, we're not going to encroach on the area for the pool. We're not going to affect the bocce ball courts in any way. We're going to just add on to what we have. Is that a fair description?
So right, it won't be part of the tiki bar. It definitely will not affect the bocce ball. If anything, it may enhance food sales there and whatever. It's a separate structure, somewhere around 20 by 20. That would be in the area now where the stones, where some of the planters are, and I think there's a tree or two.
Right.
So it won't take up space either from the patio. Usable space for people to whatever they do out there.
If you don't want to answer this, that's fine.
Oh, I'll answer anything.
I am curious. Had this discussion ever taken place with the prior contractor? I mean, it would seem to me sort of common sense that that's what you want to, it would make sense to have done it a long time ago.
So so I'll answer this in no way has any reflection, any which way but on the prior. But to answer your question, it didn't come up.
Okay.
But that doesn't, I don't mean anything either way on that.
I get that. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
The other thing is, and I know, look, in Ocean Pines, I've been doing this for 25 years. Again, there would be an adjustment on the lease to cover the depreciation. So what that means is when you get your assessment next year or after this is done and anything else I talked about structure, because the lease payment would go up, it would cover the depreciation. So it really doesn't affect the assessment on a yearly basis. Does that make sense, everybody? That's big. It's big to me. All right.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you, association. You voted for that?
Yep.
You voted for?
That motion passes. I'm sorry, I didn't see his hand.
And I know he's going to vote for the clubhouse too. All right. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, board. Thank you, association.
If I can,
Jeff, yours.
John, if we can just clean up the agenda and in these things, I regard them all as capital requests, but we didn't have any in the agenda. So can we have a motion to amend the agenda to list these items, the 3 items that we've just voted on, in capital requests? And that would need to be approved by a majority of the board.
John, did you have a question?
So first of all, I totally agree with Bruce, and we're going to do I hope you do exactly what Bruce says. Just because I was just going forward to move forward, asking for permission, I didn't, but I'm glad that Bruce put it in there. I'm fine with it.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve the 3 capital requests?
It can be your motion, and it's just a motion to amend the
A
agenda
motion to amend the agenda
to include within capital requests the 3
Right.
items we just.
to
voted
include
on.
the capital request. Do I have a motion?
John, I think our parliamentarian has a comment.
It's, well, B04 actually says a majority, but, yeah, but we can, understood, yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion.
Thank you, parliamentarian.
All right, moving forward quicker. Just keep asking for money here. Irrigation, phase 1. I got to get out of here quick. Phase 1 included, all right, so just we do get questions on it. I do want to make sure everybody, we keep a tally of everything we're doing. All this has been approved. Phase 1 obviously has been completed. The information's up there. I'm not going to go through it, but it's there for anybody to read. I know we have people that like to go back and read it, and rightfully so. We did put in emergency. We have had issues with the failure of the original system. The board approved that. We've basically working on that or completed most of it. The next one, to phase 2, which was approved to 48, the holes 4 to 8 will be over the next, from November to March. So we just wanted to summarize everything there. This has all been approved. Turn the page. Maintenance, golf building. So we did have damage. A food truck hit the overhang in front. Our public works department did all the major repairs there. It was actually not as big as I thought it was. I do have somebody from our team working to go to the other insurance company of that vendor to get reimbursed. What I want to talk about more here is the golf course and what happened in, I guess, the end of August, September. We did have some situations. If you're a golfer, I know I heard about it. I came down. We addressed it, is what I want to tell everybody. This has happened in the past. It was a annual event before 7 years ago, for a good 15 years that I was here seeing it. But what I want to tell everybody is we got on it quick. A lot of things worked against us, but I'm not going to use that. Nobody from my team is going to use that as an excuse. But what I'm telling everybody is we have addressed it. We have put more resource on it. We've also looked at what are the root causes of this and how can we correct it. So one of the items that Justin has showed, and if you are golfing, you play and you look on 7, the tee box to the right, I think it's the orange tee box. He put a different type of turf there last year or 2 years ago that held up really nice during this stress time that we had and every other golf course had. So I've given the go-ahead on that to start doing other tee boxes. He identified 3 as the worst, and it certainly was. That has already been replaced with the new turf, and I'm sure next year we will reap the benefits of it. So with that, we are looking at that for other tee boxes also. So we are trying to address some of the situations that happen. Yes, we had some stuff in the fairways. I haven't been out there for certain reasons, but I'm being told it's all coming back and quicker than in the past. Yes, and I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but yes, having an irrigation system new is definitely going to help going forward, especially with the tee boxes.
Jeff has a question.
Jeff.
John, can you just recap for us all how this came about?
Sure.
And how you took action on this?
Sure. So it's been well known, and I've talked to other prior golf pros. And in fact, I think Rick was there with me when I talked to Buddy. This this happens here in Ocean Pines in the end of August with the weather, and depending on how the weather is, whether it's dry or then sometimes if you get too much rain and it puddles out there, it boils the water, it boils the turf and it kills it. So a lot of it was, they said it was airflow, and I've been talking to everybody about airflow and we are working on that. But it was more a function of the weather and what hit us and where we are here. The other thing is, like you said, you got to address it right away. Justin got out there, they aerated, they verticut, we're putting in the new sides. So it doesn't happen as much as in the past. It used to happen to the greens. It did not happen to the greens. So we're getting there.
John, really what I'm looking to get at on this one is, how was this brought to your attention? That these
Yeah, yeah,
tee
no,
boxes
yeah.
were in need of such attention.
So the golf committee, I mean, Frank Brown, he spoke to me. Obviously, I played a course. I hadn't been around because of the knee pain, but when I came, everybody told me, feedback from the golfers.
Yeah,
Is that-
I thought there were several emails sent
Oh, there were emails
to
also.
the board, which were
Yes.
forwarded
Yes,
to you.
there was also emails to the board, correct. Okay. What I do want to talk about is the bulkhead. So with this new irrigation system and with the whole thing with the aquifer and water down here, that pond out there is a water reservoir for our irrigation system. Justin does not want to pull from the aquifer. I don't want to pull from the aquifer. I don't think anybody wants to, as everything develops down here. So the bulkhead does need replacement. I've given the go-ahead to replace the bulkhead with the bulkhead work this year. We're also going to enlarge the area, that pond, so it'll be a higher bulkhead. We will dredge it. I mean, there's a little piece of land there that we're gonna take out, that little peninsula that's no longer used, to increase the amount of water held in there, so we won't have to pull from the aquifer. So the bulkhead and everything is all part of the DMA. So I am moving forward with that, and we'll probably come to the board with the contract for that. Elaine, wait, go Drew.
Steve?
Yeah, John, having lost a few golf balls in that, in that pond over there on my second shot. You and I have talked a couple of times about the bulkhead at 16 as well. The par 3.
Yes,
Is that also on the
yes.
calendar for fix and
It's
repair?
definitely on there. Again, the golf committee, they have come to me, specifically Don McMullen, Frank Brown. Yes, that's included. Nobi knows about it. I've been out there with Nobi. He's going to talk to Frister Marine. And you're right, you have the erosion there on the left side. That will be a part of it. Yes.
Elaine?
I just wanted to mention too that I think it's a very smart way to do it. In being involved with the water and wastewater issue that we had, one of the things that was mentioned at that time is our aquifer, which is one of the best. And so a
Right.
lot of people want to tie in, but we are now starting to bump up to the allowable percentage of 80%. And so if we start pulling more water, we're going to have a huge expense on our bills for having to put in a new well. So just so, folks understand that is also being considered in these sorts of matters.
Right. And just to add in, I forgot to mention it, but what Steve said about losing golf balls, if you look at the fairway, if you are a golfer, if you look at that bulkhead, and Andre was the golf superintendent when and I knew Andre for years. Andre told me years ago when I asked him about that bulkhead, why it's zigzag and everything. He said the muskrats, I guess, ate at the ground there. So they said, you lost a lot of that fairway from what the original fairway was. We're going to put it back. We're going to put that back. I'm working with the golf pro, working with Justin and with Nobi. We're going to put it back to where we believe it was originally 50 years ago, or whenever they built the course. So that'll be a part of it. I think then you'll actually have some fairway there. Might help your game. Score anyway. Yeah, you got to get up there on 2. All right. We good on this? All right, thank you again. Turn the page. I'm almost done. All right, so again, maintenance, continuing that. I know we got some emails on the dog park. They wanted the mulch there. We do it every year. There's the mulch. It's on the left. It has, I believe it's been spread. There's the weather structure, which it took a while to get, but it is there. So we again, working on enhancing that area. I know they delivered mulch also for the playground there, and I believe I saw mulch over there at the White Horse. So we are at that stage. The bocce courts, we talked about the pavers. The pavers will be in there if you've been down there. Right now, it's still the crushed stone or whatever. We're hoping to do that in October, and we'll do that in-house. So there'll be a savings there. I believe it's going to look really nice. Turn the page. Racket Senator Crowd. Okay, I believe this has been posted. Ruth Ann sent me pictures of it. I asked to be posted. Yes, the cracks are important to us. We understand that. It was part of the budget. We did hire somebody. We signed the contract before the season even started. We had to wait for 80-degree weather or whatever. The contractor was not able to fulfill the request. We did receive back our money. Terry knew of another company who I believe is going to be there this week, I'm being told. And I know he posted that down there. So they will be addressing all the work we said we would do in the budget. There was a little increase in the cost. I approved it. The increase came within my authority. I do want to get this done. They and the team down there wants to get it done. So hopefully you'll see that, and hopefully everybody will be happy with it and it works. Please note those courts in the back. I understand why it was done, what it was done, but that is soft earth back there. We do continue to monitor the new courts, which are on the bottom middle there. We did a different type of sub-base. We did it. We obviously engineered and looked at it and everything. So far, it's holding up. I'd like to see that for several more years before we even address anything further in those back courts.
Hey, John Stewart has a question.
Stuart.
Yeah, that was my question. The backcourts, that the base is too soft and the cracks are an ongoing problem. I'm sure you've looked into this about the cost of just redoing them from the base up. But I guess you just addressed that with the courts in the middle that are holding up really well. Are you considering doing those back courts that are an ongoing issue to reconstruct them?
So there is a big cost to that. I truly believe if we just did them again, we would get the cracks. I want to see how this sub-base that we did for the new ones, which you're confirming, and need a little more time before we look at something like that. But, you know, it's not like we're not saying, but nor am I definitely saying I have a definite date. Let's see what happens with this crack. The last time they told me what they believed the crack, how long it would hold up, and it didn't. So let's see what happens.
Thank you, John.
Yep. All right, and then overall, I know I got a few questions. I know some of them were from the board and there'll be detail behind it. I won't go through it. What have we spent over the last several years at the Racket Center? So we've spent approximately $750,000, $760,000. The details on the back. If anybody has any questions on it, info@oceanpines.org, and somebody from my team will definitely respond. So that's it. Not going to go through it, but we have put all that in there. You know, again, a lot of this came from committees, or we had it on our list to begin with, as well as, I don't think it's on there, but we also invested in a director, which we didn't have before, full-time director. Turn the page. DMA study, I'm going to hand off to Linda Martin to take us through the rest of the presentation.
Okay, DMA study, the contract was signed a few months ago. It took a while to get the scheduling done, but they are now going to be on site starting October 14th through the 16th for the field work. We're hoping to get the draft report done prior to the budget to be presented to the Budget Finance in a work session. What we were looking to achieve for the DMA study, develop budget estimates with updated report, and update the strategic plan with the DMA study. Strategic plan. I know this came up a few times, and actually one of the board members mentioned as well. We are working on updating the strategic plan. The 5-year plan was released in 2022. What we achieved initiatives from 2022 to 2025 were completed. Remember, this was a 5-year plan. So we still have 2 remaining years on that plan that we'll be addressing with the additional 5-year that we're doing now. Fundamentals of enhancing the customer experience, investing in amenities, investing in infrastructure, driving efficiencies, reallocating costs, organic revenue, providing excellent customer service. So once we get that finalized and reviewed, we will put it on the website. Dredging, Fisher Marine began dredging in early September, includes Clubhouse Drive, Dove Lane, Drawbridge, Driftwood, Grandport, Harborview, Ivanhoe, Newport, Ocean Parkway, Teal Circle, Water Green, and Whitesale Circle. Thanks to Jeff for those pictures. List was from 2021. It takes 3 years plus to get the permitting process through with your MDE. So this is the list from 2021 that we're working on currently. Bulkheads. Fisher Marine scheduled to start the project once they finish the dredging. Includes 49 to 91 Clubhouse Drive, the odd number homes. It was approved by the board a few months ago at $675,000, and we're waiting on the prices for the additional bulkhead. Governing documents.
Brenda, excuse me, Stuart has a question.
Yeah, I have a quick question on bulkheads. So when a bulkhead gets replaced, if someone has a dock on that, does that dock get removed and it's the homeowner's responsibility to
Yes,
replace
it's
it?
the homeowner's responsibility to remove anything that's on before the bulkhead is
Okay,
replaced.
thank you.
Okay, this came up actually a few emails, governing documents regarding staff relations. There's actually 2 references in the bylaws. Section 9.03 regarding to this board. Board's not to give any orders to any employee. It has the president association is liaison between the board and the general manager. And then section 10.05 goes through to the committees. Chairpersons are not to give any orders to the general manager or any other employee. Again, this has to go through their liaison to the board president that then will instruct the general manager.
So there was an email, so that I asked Linda to put this in there. So I do believe this needed to be there, especially today. Those are our governing documents. Those are our forefathers. That's not us. I was on committees for years. I chaired a committee several different times, the same committee. My first committee, I asked the controller a question, and I was informed by the liaison, and I was informed by the general manager, and made clear to me that any questions I had was to go through the general manager. Crystal clear. Same thing with the liaison. The liaison sat in that committee, literally looked into the corner walls because he or she was just there as a liaison and to take forward to the board. That's what I was educated on 15, 20 years ago. And that's what I've always been a part of. But right there, and I did look that up right after I went home that day. So that's what's there. The same thing with staff. I was on there. I think I know a little bit or a lot about accounting and finance and everything. I never instructed or insisted on that I had to talk to staff. I never went and sat in the general manager's office and insisted on talking to staff. If I needed staff to do the job, well, then what do you need me for? I'm there to give ideas or whatever. And look, I gave ideas. My team, before 2017, told the board in the budget process that what they were trying to do at the yacht club would not work. They were upset about it. The board still went forward. The board's right. I'm not critiquing the board. But the point is, and like I told that team when we regrouped, we did our job. We told them, that's it. They make a decision, we move on. If you don't understand that, then maybe this committee is not for you. That's what I told them. That went for me. I wasn't happy with it. And by the by, you brought in a new GM, which I supported after that, who blamed me as the chair of budget and finance when everything fell apart at the yacht club, and told your forensic auditors that a big part of where the money was missing. What luck I had a copy what that committee sent to the board, telling them, we didn't agree with that. So anyway, that's just my experiences, just as facts. Everybody has their opinions, their rights. But if anybody's going to question what I say or what I've done, there it is. That's why I say it. I do listen to everybody. We go from there. But listening, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do it. And what I experience here is just keeps coming back, and coming back. And it doesn't stop. And I don't know if that's the way of running an airline or anything, but that's up to the board, that's up to the individual. But we do address it. That's all I'm saying. I do welcome it. But if somebody's going to put in an email or something to question me, I'm going to address it, and I'm going to address it with facts. That's what I'm doing here. It might have been one person. I'm sure it's not the bulk of the people behind me, who are all very good people and have ideas, and I know most of them. And I do believe if you talk to them, they will say he does listen. That's all I got on it. Just facts, nothing else on how I handle this.
Okay, moving on to CPI. As stated at the July meeting, CPI now reports to Nobi Violante. So where we were receiving instruction from board to focus on maintenance issues. What we are doing, so Nobi's taking the approach of clearing out the prior violations before starting any new violations. They are doing violations as far as safety and anything picked up on resales. So they are sending out notices instead of violation letters. So they're trying to work with the homeowners, either by calling the owners or sending out the notices. So that is they're looking to achieve, is to work with the owners to resolve issues instead of receiving violation notices. CPI violation dashboard, 27 new violations in the month of August. Like I said before, they did close out 196 violations working with homeowners. 203 remain open. 95 of the 203 are still illegal. Work orders, 86 work orders in August, 135 closed out, 148 remain open, majority in drainage. We are clearing out the drainage work orders because only 33 are over 30 days, 16 over 60 days, which a contractor is scheduled to complete. And the customer service dashboard for Info Ocean Pines, 60 new emails and phone calls. And if you have any questions, please email info-oceanpines.org.
Okay, and I know the board, and I know John did a very good job on this. I had this in there. I did it when Tom passed away. These two gentlemen, we all saw them at board meetings. I got to be honest, if I can think back, the first board meeting I was in, when I heard them, I was like, whoa. And I just remember going home and telling Camille, this is where I want to be. The only thing I can tell you what I know, they loved Ocean Pines. Everything they did or said, they meant well by it. Same thing with Tom, same thing with Doris. We also lost Dara Lloyd, a prior president, as well as Tom. I can go on. I'm just thinking about the ones that I interacted with a lot. So rest in peace. Sorely missed by me. And I truly believe, regardless of how you took what they did, I can tell you these two gentlemen truly believed in Ocean Pines and loved Ocean Pines. That's all I got. All right, financials, I'll do this quick. All right, so we start off with the month. Financials, we're favorable. Again, favorable doesn't necessarily mean surplus. We were favorable to budget. We do enhance the budget every year. We do look at projecting more revenue and looking at, and you can see all the money we've been investing. So there's your favorability. I can go down there, but it's been driven by the amenities. Golf is showing there. I know Rec and Parks is doing well. The camps, you did a good job there. We do, some of this is timing. I mean, the police might be some timing. The admin, we did have some favorability. We brought in some EDUs and some other items. But we also have some open positions, specifically in finance, which we are looking to fill. So favorable around 100,000 to budget, not necessarily surplus, but money that'll be reinvested, assuming we recognize this at the end of the year after the audit, reinvested in a lot of the stuff I talked about today. Year to date, this one is more telling of where we're at. Again, it's driven by golf. The marina is a big So the marina really bounced back from last year. We had a lot of small craft advisories. The food and beverage there, we'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, to do a comparison to prior year with the food and beverage, the way it's structured, it really doesn't work until the end of the year. And that's why I'm trying to give a forecast every time I come out here. So the food and beverage, the reason we're unfavorable to budget is when we budgeted, and again, we did break out, we said it would be a part of it, and again, everything was happening. I don't even think we had the, probably right at the time when we signed the contract. When we looked at operational for food and beverage, here's what we did. We took the income that we would get on rent each month. It's like $36,000 or $38,000 a month. We have that in there. It's listed. I even listed it by the depreciation for each location. Is that in the budget, binder, Linda? Linda says yes. I know it's in there. Then I'm looking at, or I'd have to estimate, right? So we came up with the board approved, and I think it's a really good deal. We get a percentage, 6.5% of non-alcohol. So we did a projection on that based upon what we saw the non-alcohol sales were last year. And we calculated that, and we put that as part of the budget. This was all explained during the budget process. Here's the difference here. They have been favorable on the amount of food calculation, the 6.5% of the non-alcohol, but it's getting lost in there, and I'll tell you why. Right off the bat, at this point in time, if I was just to compare the revenue, the gross revenue, the sales of food and beverage to last year, at this point in time, they're $425,000 ahead of last year. So I should have had favorability there, and I do. However, the insurance on the structures was not included during the budget process. And now Mark came to me, he pointed this out. We kind of knew it. I just didn't think it was right if I left the insurance out. So we are including the insurance when we calculate this food and beverage. Net to the overall association and the assessment, it's no effect. I could have reported without it. I believed it was the right thing. I'll take guidance from anybody on if they want to see it differently. But that's what caused that there. So it's pretty simple. There's only 3 components to this thing. But we are forecasting at the end of the year, even after taking into effect the insurance and the depreciation, we believe will be somewhere around 150 to 180,000 over depreciation. That's the number you really got to focus on, right? So that's a lot. It's not a lot, but I think there was some misnomers out there. Rec and parks, camps, she's doing a great job. Everybody's doing a great job. The police, that'll probably be some timing. The admin, what else is in there? So we did have the grant, right? We received the grant, an extra 50,000 from the county. That's in there as favorability. The finance, the open positions, marketing. That's more of a part of the reorganization. For the month though, that we did lose some advertising from one of the advertisers, but net 274,000 to the good. Turn the page. All right, so this is our balance sheet. This is very important to me. Obviously, with everything else going on, and this kind of puts everything into perspective with the money that I'm asking to invest in our instructions. Invest, right? Invest. So if you look at the first column, that's our general replacement. Everybody seems to be focused on that one, and rightfully so. We're trying to do an estimate of where we'll be at the end of this year. And you can see the balance would be $3.5 million. What does that mean? Well, you can see in there, I have the fire department cost, what I believe will take place over the next year and how much it will reduce for that, along with all the other capital spend that was approved. If you just take that number and then put the contribution that you're making in the next assessment, which if you go up top, you see the 2 million, that'll bring you to 5.5. I look at that number. That number is important to me. That percentage, when I go to evaluate it, we go to evaluate it at the beginning of the year, I take that and I take it as a percentage of our overall, what it would take to replace this Ocean Pines, the structures, to ensure that I'm still within that 22% that we've agreed to self-manage ourselves. All right, and the rest would go for the same for the other 3, the drainage, the roads, the bulkheads, and the new capital. That's it.
in Monica's absence, I'll go through the treasurer's report. As of August 31st, 2025, the association had approximately 17.8 million in cash. Cash decreased 1.1 million from the same time period last year. Cash decreased $100,000 from July 2025. We had $9 million invested in CDARS. We recognized $58,000 in interest income for the month. The remaining 8.8 million in insured cash sweep, treasury bills, money market, and other operating accounts diversified between 2 local banks. So we'll move on to public comments. Any members wishing to make comments must state their name and address. Time limit is 5 minutes per person. As a reminder, this is not a question and answer forum. I say that not being smart. Over time, I've noticed some folks are a little bit unclear of the process, so I just want to put that out up front. Thank you.
Keith Kaiser, 28 Moonshell Drive. First, I want to give a shout out to John. Love John. I'm just finishing up a 6-month tour or 6-year tour on the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, but I am not speaking for them and I'm not representing them. These are my own thoughts, my own opinions. And before I say anything else, I just want to point out that the people that are on these committees, and I'm going to be talking about this committee issue, are all volunteers. They don't get paid to do this. And I also like to point out that the members of our board are volunteers. They're just our neighbors, sometimes family and friends who volunteer to come forward to work in the community. They don't get paid to do this either. And the reason I bring this up is because I found out earlier this year that there are people in the Pines who actually believe we're all getting paid for this. And we're not. We're just volunteers. So recent national events have taught us once again that when we stop talking, bad things happen. In my opinion, an HOA is the purest form of self-governance that there is. That's what we're attempting to do here. We're attempting to govern ourselves. And we do that with volunteers. Volunteers from the people and of the people being governed. That's what all of us in here, right? And one of the big challenges of doing that is that there's a lot of people who just aren't interested in participating in their governance. And we see that every time we have a major vote where we're lucky to get 40% of the community voting on a major issue. And that's okay. And it's not the end of the world, but the problem with that is it makes it easier to take advantage of a community that's not paying attention. And so I'm here today because it's incumbent upon those of us paying attention to show up and speak up. Governance of a free society is never easy. It's always messy and it's always unpredictable. The only kind of society that's easy to govern is a tyrannical one, where there's no options and there's no voice of the people. So the fact that you're in a governance position and things get a little difficult sometimes, and maybe sometimes you have to listen to people rant about things that maybe there's no solutions for, that's just all part of the process. And no one should be volunteering for any committee or the board for that matter if you think it's going to be easy, because it's not. And that's just a price we pay for being in a free society. Are all of the current committees that we have today necessary? I don't know. I don't. But is getting rid of all of them a good idea? I don't think that's the answer either. You may be saying today that you're not abolishing all of them. That's only because you're legally not allowed by our bylaws to abolish all of them. There's 3 that are protected by the bylaws. So you could be argued that the only reason you're not getting rid of those because they're in the bylaws. Hundreds of Ocean Pines members over the years have developed the system that we have today. The committees, the board of directors, the resolutions that we have in place. And that's all developed on what I think, and again, this is me, lessons learned, mistakes made, losses in court cases, etc. And these have driven the development of our governing documents and specifically the resolutions. These resolutions represent best practices to decision-making for issues that commonly come up in our community. Their compliance provides a level of predictability and consistent governance because directors come and go. To abolish all the committees, you're going to have to cancel or modify the related resolutions that codify them. Then what? You're just going to make it up as you go along? You're also going to have to pay employees to perform some of the functions that some of the committees provide for free. I can't speak to all the other committees, but after 6 years on the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, I can say confidently that nobody does what we do. Nobody, not even legal review. I can't tell you how many times we've carried forward a well-researched and documented concern on our books over different boards of directors.
Hey, Keith. Thank you very much, Keith.
Good morning. I'm Steve Habiger. I live on 5 Hudson Place, and I'm here today to represent Dr. Colette Horn. She's unable to be here today, and she sent me 2.5 pages, which I will edit for you. For those of you who don't remember Dr. Horn, she was a committee member, chairman, director, secretary, vice president, and president of this association. Dear OPA Board of Directors, I am writing to express my disappointment in your decision to put forth a motion to disband most of the advisory committees. The rationale presented in the proposed motion is that, quote, OPA's management team has grown in size and depth of talent and ability, unquote. The management team, as you know, is not there to be advisory to the board of directors, nor is it their role to speak to governance issues. To equate the staff with the committees is a false equivalence. It confuses and conflates roles and responsibilities that are fundamentally different. The staff has grown in both size and quality, and I think everybody would agree with that. But governance issues are not the responsibility of the staff. That's where the board needs to get input from the members. And member input is vital, as the first speaker pointed out, participatory management and governance. One of the most important government issues of the board, duties of the board, is to prioritize spending such as that it reflects not only operational needs, but also the priorities of the OPA members. The advisory committees have their fingers on the pulse of the membership's priorities and have historically served as a conduit for information to the board about community priorities. Now, she goes on to list, too long to list here, many of the things that we have in place today and we enjoy that came from committee work. And I'll provide this to the record if there's a way to do that. As you know, members of the board do not come to their positions with in-depth knowledge of all aspects of the social amenities and physical infrastructure of Ocean Pines. Historically, they have relied on the passion and knowledge of a broad spectrum of volunteers to be their eyes and ears on the ground in form of advisory committee membership. As a former director, I am intimately familiar with the many ways in which the relationship between the board and the committees has been fraught. And both sides of the equation have received repeated reminders of the boundaries of their respective roles. This has not always been comfortable or seemed efficient, but nonetheless, outcomes were achieved that may never have come to fruition without the committee members' lively discussion of pros and cons and their passionate commitment to responding to and informing the board of the community's priorities and wishes. We all owe a debt of gratitude to those passionate and hardworking volunteers, not only for the work they have done and the outcomes they have received, but their courage to persist in their efforts to be heard. If approved, this motion you are considering is not only a slap in the face of those volunteers, but it is also a huge loss of human capital and the potential improvements to our community these volunteers are yet to germinate and bring forth. I urge you to withdraw the motion or vote against it. I regret that I am unable to attend your meeting on Saturday to express these thoughts in person. Dr. Colette Horn.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Gary Miller, 15 Windward Court. I am the chair of the Aquatics Committee, Advisory Committee, and I'm also on the Strategic Planning Committee. I've been a resident of Ocean Pines for more than 20 years, and for the past 15 or more, I've served on several of the advisory committees. All of the committees work hard to bring information and suggestions for improvement to Ocean Pines to the board. It is interesting to me that Jeff points out in his email that the current dynamic has resulted in understandable frustration on the part of the advisory committees. As you said, the lines of communication between the committees and the board and/or management has become inefficient and strained, resulting in unproductive conflict and disagreement. The main reason for this, in my opinion, is due to a lack of communication between the committees and their liaisons and the particular department the committee was established to help. It should be noted that several of the committees have made suggestions to improve the communications between the committees, the board, and OP management, including a request that their particular department head attend their committee meetings on a quarterly basis. This would bring the committee up to date on particular problems or concerns, as well as any new projects that may be planned for the future. In other words, have a civil back and forth discussion so that everyone is aware of what is being planned and what help may be needed. As an example, Colby and Kathleen, prior heads of the aquatics department, attended the monthly aquatics committee meetings on a regular basis. By attending the meetings, they were able to advise the committee about upcoming events, potential problems, and suggest areas that the committee could work on. It should be noted that at the past two executive council meetings, where the committee chairs report on what activities and suggestions they have been involved with over the previous year, the lack of communications was brought up. It was suggested at those meetings that in addition to having the department head attend the committee meetings on a quarterly basis, that the executive council also meet on a quarterly basis in order to improve overall communications. Neither of these suggestions was implemented. There has also been a lack of feedback to some of the suggestions sent to the board, leaving the committees wondering if the suggestions were even considered. You also say that ad hoc committees and temporary working groups focused on particular identified tasks rather than standing advisory committees will be a better alternative. Problem with this is that standing committees hear from the OP residents about particular issues and concerns which they bring to the board's attention. And they do it in a way that just sending a note to info@oceanpines.org does not. They also bring ideas to improve and highlight the various OP amenities, like the OP season kickoff event. The initial idea for this event came from an aquatics committee meeting where we discussed ways to improve residents' knowledge about the pools and various activities offered. That idea evolved into an event to showcase all that Ocean Pines has to offer, with all of the advisory committees and amenities participating. Although an ad hoc committee was formed to plan the event, the idea would not have come about if there was no advisory committee. As you have said, it is up to the board to decide if there is a need for the advisory committees, but placing the blame for the lack of communication and the frustration that has caused should not be placed on the committees, but rather on the board. It's a real shame that instead of bringing the committees together to discuss how to fix this problem, that you have decided it is better to just eliminate the voice of the volunteers who are trying to improve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Good morning, Donna McElroy. I reside at 6 Whitesale Circle. I've been a property owner for 25 years. I have lived here full-time for 8 years. I have been a member of the Marine Activity Advisory Committee for going on 6 years. I have served in the capacity as secretary and/or chair of this committee, and I'm here to address Director Hebner's generalized allegations, which the committee chair people did receive. I disagree with this allegation that my committee existence is no longer wanted or needed or even necessary. And to repeat a comment already made, his claim is this is because OPA's management and departmental team have grown in size and depth of talent and capability. And who exactly might that be? I disagree that my committee searches for initiatives or projects that may or may not be in sync with the board's strategies and planning. The fact is that at the beginning of the year, our committee is often faced with too many projects, and we look at the projects, we choose the projects that we think are the best for the community and are in sync with the board strategies. We always look at our functions under Resolution C-12. I disagree that my committee is frustrated and experiences conflict and disagreement between and with the committees or the board. Just the opposite is true. Never. We have continued to have good communication and rapport with the committees. And in fact, we have partnered specifically with ENR for annual expos, which was mentioned by Gary. And we have also partnered with them at the farmers market. Our communication within the community is not inefficient, is not strained. I disagree with the comment that the info@oceanpines.org is the only and most effective way to share suggestions, comments, and questions with the community, specifically when those questions or comments may address marine matters. And I want to remind you that for many years now, my committee has made available an email address, which appears every week in This Week in the Pines, and we have acted upon questions and requests for information through that. If this were a legal matter, I would be demanding strict proof for each of these generalized allegations as they would apply to each and every of the 13 advisory committees. I'm not going to take time to talk about our functions, and you can look that up in the resolution. But I'd like to say that two of our projects which have had the most impact on the community are the water testing project and the oyster project. As a result of my committee, the oyster project, there are today some 100 participants in Ocean Pines and 120 cages. And this is a partnership with Friends of the St. Martin River and Maryland Coastal Bays. Ocean Pines volunteers, as well as volunteers from my committee, have participated in the Maryland Coastal Bay for the marine debris plunder. That's the cleanup of our waters. We participated now and still are in a water testing project, which was initiated by concerns presented at a prior annual meeting by a resident, and we have addressed it. The water testing project includes locations around our canals. The board supported this. They provided our committee with funding to purchase test kits. The results will be ready October 23rd. Do away with this committee. Who's going to care? Who's going to present the results? What are you going to do with it? MAC has outstanding local press, and they also have had good press in the Weekly Pines, including things like safety checks, new Coast Guard rules, new federal rules, NICS law, turtle excluders, MOB devices, engine cutoff switches, etc. We have worked with the board to obtain no-wake buoys. These were installed in the waters coming on the St. Martin River and the Marine Yacht Club Marine marina area. I'm trying to quickly get through this. We presented, did a presentation for the Angler Club and explained to them the difference between no wake and 6 miles an hour. We've installed permanent oyster cage with an educational sign at the yacht club, and it includes a QR code so residents can find out what it's all about. By the way, did you know that one oyster can filter 50 gallons of water per day? In preparing for this meeting, I came across a letter from 2007 from concerned residents, and they were concerned that they repeatedly asked the board to address some issues, and they didn't do it. And they came to MAC, and guess what? We went ahead and took care of it. Thank you very much. By the way,
Thank you, Donna.
do not approve this motion.
I'm Vivian Korokny. I live at 23 Drawbridge Road. I've been on the Aquatics Committee for 3 years with my term expiring this November. I started with the committee because once I retired, I made a commitment to volunteerism, that was something I wanted to give back to the community, as do all the committee members. They're all volunteers. I wasn't planning to continue for a second term when my term is up in November. As a matter of fact, I had several comments that I was going to bring to the board at that time. I'm going to go ahead and talk about them today. I joined the Aquatics Committee, as I said, for the same reason all committee members do, a desire to be involved in and support our community, a belief in the importance of volunteerism to bring about improvement. However, after 3 years, my individual take on this is I can say that the frustration that was mentioned in the memorandum we received last week is real. I don't think it's on the part of the committee members. I do think it's on the part of the responses we got back from the board. It did not need to be frustrating, but unfortunately in the 3 years that I've been on the committee, I've gone from wondering why almost any suggestions put forward by the committee were declined or ignored, to more recently wondering why there seemed to be a palpable disrespect toward the committee and a lack of interest in anything the committee said or recommended. I understand that mistakes, especially on the Aquatics Committee, have been made by individual members. And those individual members, those situations were addressed. One member resigned the committee. Another member was, I believe, maybe asked to leave. I can't recall the details of it. Nevertheless, I will say that as our chair, Gary Miller has done an excellent job of orienting new committee members, of going through the resolutions and the bylaws that govern how committees are to respond, how they are to interact with staff. And yeah, mistakes have been made. Does that mean we get rid of the whole committee or all the committees? I don't think so. I think they were dealt with on an individual basis. We move on because the committees have done a great deal of good in this community and will continue to do so if allowed to. Oh, I got off my paper here. Let's see. I want to say it's difficult to work on a committee when charging documents seem to be ignored and the committee never hears back from the board or management as to whether or not a suggestion was accepted. Sometimes we've seen suggestions that we did put forward. All of a sudden, it's in the recreation manual. We're like, oh, hey, great. But we did not get any response from the board when we submitted that request or that suggestion. On those occasions where we never heard anything, we continued to put in charging documents just looking for a response. And when that occurred, the response we finally would get when we would ask for it was a simple no, or sometimes we got an explanation, but it was frequently in a rather adversarial tone, in my opinion, and it was via email. After 3 years, my takeaway is that the board, or at least some directors on the board, do not see the benefits of resident advisory committees and see no value in the work that the advisory committees do. Sad, really sad. The advisory committees provide a window to the board and to management as to what association members want and what they observe on a daily basis in their own community. The committee's goal is to hear from other folks in the community, which, by the way, we often do. And to work with the board to improve and enhance the community. Why rush in to get rid of the very committees that are here to support and help the community. Why would the board unilaterally decide that this input is not important? I hardly think that Info at Ocean Pines is going to accomplish the task that the committees in this community have accomplished. Yeah, people, I tell folks all the time because on the Aquatics Committee, we were never getting any responses. So finally, I started telling people in the community, hey, send that into Info at Ocean Pines. Maybe you'll get a response. Okay, but we're now shifting all of that over to somebody who's paid to have to filter through all those and respond in some manner. I just don't think it's going to accomplish the task that the committees already do for you. Forming ad hoc committees as needed doesn't seem to be the answer. What establishes a need? Do we wait until something's broken and then, oh yeah, need an ad hoc committee for that? Or more importantly, how will selection bias be avoided when selecting ad hoc committees? Instead of unilaterally getting rid of association-supported advisory system, I agree with what others have said before me. Let's get everybody together in the same room and let's see how we can bring about positive change.
Thank you, Vivian.
Hi, I'm Linda Yershi. I live at 35 Watertown Road. For the past 2 years, I've been chair of the Communications Advisory Committee. The committee currently includes 5 other volunteers, each bringing relevant skills and/or deep knowledge of Ocean Pines history. We come from different backgrounds and neighborhoods, and we represent a nice cross-section of this community. I've only lived in Ocean Pines for 6 years, but I have spent literally hundreds of hours volunteering for it. I've met wonderful people through this work, including others on our committee with many more years who have given thousands of hours, as well as their blood, sweat, and tears. With all this experience, we fully understand that under the committee's charter, which the board is proposing to withdraw, being advisory means specifically advising the board on ways to boost Ocean Pines' appeal as a place to live and work and play, and to celebrate the people who live here and all the community has to offer. We have managed to find community-facing ways to do that that don't overlap with the work of the professional staff. Among other things, we created the Ocean Pines Good Neighbors program, which I hope we're going to honor some of those folks today. And several of us were heavily involved in creating and running the Ocean Pines season kickoff event that Gary mentioned. I co-chaired it for the last 2 years. I can tell you it's a wonderful celebration of our community, but it took many, many volunteer hours from many people to pull it off. Although I can't speak to the long history of the committee, at least during my tenure, the committee has not sought to advise, direct, or even coordinate with the professional staff, except the Rec and Parks personnel directed by the GM to work with us on the season kickoff. We all recognize that Ocean Pines is working to professionalize its administrative functions, and we've encouraged the board and administration to share their priorities and plans so we might find ways to amplify that work. However, at a meeting of all the committee chairs, executive council that was mentioned, even asking to be kept in the loop on appropriate topics got me harshly scolded by a former board member. And our own board liaison spoke dismissively about OPA advisory committees in general at a board meeting earlier this year. Recognizing the changing landscape for our work, our committee members have spent the last several months brainstorming and drafting ideas we had hoped to share with the board about revising our charter or revisiting the committee structure. Certainly, none of us want to continue to give our time and talents where they're not needed or wanted, and we don't want to step on the toes of what remains a very lean staff for an enterprise of this size. Through our deliberations and research, we very well may have concluded that committee as originally envisioned was no longer useful. But we take seriously the responsibility to serve as a bridge between the wider community and the board. So we've been looking for thoughtful ways to continue to keep the voices and service of our committees intact while transitioning to a model that makes more sense in the current administrative environment. These good intentions and sincere discussions turned out to be a waste of time. Rather than respect the work and insights of the volunteers and collaborate with us on ways to update the existing committee model, Board Member Hebner sent all committee chairs a bulk email telling us the board plans to abolish our committee and most others. No discussion, not even advance warning. I mean, that email was the first I heard. As volunteers themselves, I don't think it would be unreasonable for the board to treat committee members as partners in improving our community and to consider our ideas about how to move forward. As members of and voices for this community, we would hope a collaborative process to continually improve how things work. Instead, this edict from on high sends a bad message to the community and to those who might consider volunteering in the future. Progress is inevitable, and our committee wants to support it, not impede it. We and all committees are conduits for the voices of our community, including those who don't feel that an email to info@oceanpines.org is a sufficient way to discuss more nuanced or complex concerns or questions. I encourage the board to respect those voices and our service and to work with us to update the committee structure rather than cutting us all off with no discussion. It may be too late for this, but I hope you will consider this approach. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community and the chance to speak here today.
Thank you, Linda.
Amy Peck, 109 White Horse Drive. In the spirit of transparency, notice is important. At today's meeting, you just spent $325,000 of our money on items that weren't on the agenda. And today's topic, you have never discussed eliminating committees with the committees themselves. Boy, time really flies in Ocean Pines because not long ago, this board was praising volunteerism, saying that the committees were what made Ocean Pines great. Jeff, you campaigned on strengthening committees, and now you want to eliminate them. This motion is not a procedural tweak. It is a direct threat to homeowner engagement, transparency, oversight, and open governance. A vote for this motion is a vote to silence the homeowners and discard the deep well of expertise that Ocean Pines has. It's expertise that this board needs. It rejects collaboration and it rejects the vision of our founders. The proposed work group model limits participation. It means fewer voices filtered through fewer people. I urge you to reconsider, modernize and strengthen our committees, improve communication, clarify scopes. Do not dismantle a system that has served Ocean Pines for over a half of a century. If you eliminate committees instead of improving them, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You are saying you do not want homeowners to have a voice. You don't want to collaborate because true collaboration means adding voices, not silencing them. The committees are there to help you hear what Ocean Pines is thinking. And you might not like what we're thinking, but you were elected to listen. This motion moves us towards a closed, top-down style of governance that does not want to hear from the people they serve. It undermines the inclusive, participatory spirit that has defined our community for decades. Directors that vote for this motion are telling every homeowner, your voice doesn't matter, your expertise doesn't matter. You are dismantling the collaboration, you're silencing oversight, and you are concentrating power in the hands of a few. That is not leadership, that is control. So if you believe in the people that you serve, you have to vote no. Now, for all the dedicated volunteers, those that have served in the past, those that want to serve in the future, those that couldn't be here today because you didn't get notice, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to Ocean Pines. And if this board dismisses you, if they eliminate your committee, if they try to silence you, I'm asking you, do not step back, step forward. I'm asking you to consider to run for the board of directors next year when Miss Brady and Mr. Latham are up for re-election. And know this, I am going to do my part to make sure that every homeowner remembers exactly which directors voted to remove the committees and silence your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
I'm John Harwood, 94 Sandy Hook Road. I've been here for 42 years. I got 6 violations, not knowing that I needed a permit because I thought it was, not like a foundation type thing. So I've been working on my project for 6 years. I had 2 pergolas and a gazebo up for 3 years. I had a trash can violation last year, which those were still up there. So why didn't I get a violation last year? I mean, I'm not hiding anything. It's like they want to put a wooden structure here because of the sun. I want to protect my patio. My experience with the committee was I told the guy that the county said ground concrete, you do not need a permit and it can go to the property line, which I did. So I said to the guy, and he said, that's not true. I said, well, my surveyor said the same thing. He goes to the other guy that didn't say anything. He said, tell him we got to tell Russell to stop telling people that. But that is true. So all I'm saying is I'd like to keep my yard. I got $40,000 tied up in it. And if you go around, you see people with 2 gazebos, different things, sheds. And my yard looks nice. It doesn't look like a shithole, excuse my French. Some people's yards, you can have another California, they don't clean them up, trashy. So that's all I have to say. So if you guys have any, oh, sorry.
No, just thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Board of Directors, the GM and staff and legal counsel. My name is Laura Pangratz. I live at 2 Harpoon Road. I am here as a homeowner of 11 years. I have been a full-time resident since 2022. I am also the current chairperson of the Bylaws and Resolutions Advisory Committee. I began on the committee when I was a part-time resident. I have served for 4.5 years and 6 months from completing my second term, with 1 more term to complete my full 6 years on the committee. Our committee is made up of several experienced people with knowledge and backgrounds in business and government that share their expertise and knowledge voluntarily as a committee member to benefit and keep the association successful and in compliance. I am speaking on behalf of my fellow committee members with their approval. We are very disappointed in this proposed motion to eliminate the majority of the standing committees, including our committee, the Bylaws and Resolutions Advisory Committee. The Bylaws Committee has been a huge part of the process in keeping the bylaws and the resolutions updated over the many years of its existence. We are charged with maintaining and reminding the board when resolutions need to be reviewed and then approved by the Board of Directors. We are responsible for making sure the bylaws and resolutions do not conflict with each other or the Homeowners Act of Maryland. Legal counsel assists with these updates, but not until requested by the committee. If this committee is eliminated, the full responsibility of the upkeep will be on legal counsel or a paid staff person, which then means there will need to be more funds factored into the annual budget to account for the additional billed man hours from legal counsel and the additional pay increases for a staff member, since this was not part of their original job description. This motion assumes that every one of the committees noted to be dissolved has had communication issues and has overstepped their role as an advisory committee by interacting directly with the staff of the GM. The Bylaws Committee has never had any direct communication with any staff member without having gone through our board liaison. The Bylaws Committee makes sure a charging document is sent to the directors and that the Board of Directors actually takes action versus letting it sit there, which then causes the task to never be completed. If there is a problem with the committee overstepping their responsibilities, it is the responsibility of the board liaison to step in and guide that committee chairperson and committee members and mediate and discuss a better way to communicate. This is not being done. Our committee consistently uses Robert Rules of Order and runs a very professional meeting and provides the agenda ahead of time. And once our minutes are approved, all have been posted to the website to be archived for information. We also complete our annual report every year as it is required for all committees. All our meetings are recorded. Consistency is listed in the resolution C04, which is for bylaws, and B01, the book of resolutions, that it is important. Directors will change and the committees offer a consistent presence to assist the boards. Committee members are staggered by several years, so there will always be those that have been on the committee for a while and those that are new to the committee to ensure that the tasks are completed in a timely manner. Ad hoc committees are mentioned, but they expire once their short-term task is completed, and those members may not have the knowledge of the past OPA history that would help them with their task. A standing committee doesn't lose that knowledge as it is always in session. Standing committees and those who volunteer on a committee are a blessing, not a hindrance to the board of directors and the Ocean Pines community. The bylaw committee has notified the board in the past when during their regular board meetings that something was not done correctly according to the bylaws so that it could be corrected. If the bylaws committee is dissolved, there will be a loss of institutional knowledge that comes from our members' experience and perspectives. The board of directors also changes as well as their perspectives and priorities. Removing volunteers in committees shows a further lack of transparency and communication. And as many directors have used on their re-election platforms, that volunteers are essential to the association. It shows that their promise to listen to the residents is not coming to fruition. Creating temporary ad hoc committees and work groups have not been fully successful in the past. Let us and the other committees partner and work with the board of directors in helping to update and consider restructuring the committees and find ways to make any changes successful. It would be more professional manner to discuss this topic as a group. And lastly, I would like it noted that the applications for one of our committee members whose term expires next month in October was submitted to the GM staff person on Friday, September 12th. Another current application was also submitted, is not on today's agenda. I would like to know why that is. And
Thank you, Laura.
this public comment takes place before the vote. Were you assuming that our bylaws is automatically going to be dissolved and instead not included our application?
Thank you, Laura. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ted Chirilla. I live at 116 Pine Forest. I'm here for a completely different reason. Obviously, in regard to the property at 118 Pine Forest, I know Linda and her team and some of you board members have been in communication with our local small HOA called The Point regarding the violations of the person that's building the home behind me. The person at 120 and the person at 114, neither one could be here today. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to get up today and share this in public comment and go on the record. I appreciate everything, Linda, your organization's doing. I ask that you can continue to diligently hold the homeowner accountable to follow the rules. The issues are twofold. One, he's got a violation on the height of the home that he's completely ignored. And now he's violating the grading plan that was laid out for water management by adding dirt to try to convince you that he's not over the height limit, I guess. So it's very frustrating. And again, I appreciate it. I know this is not a time for you to give me answers. I know you're actively working it with his lawyer and your legal team, and I appreciate the efforts. And all I ask is that you just keep us informed. Matt Denon and Bruce Austin and myself are the three neighbors mostly affected, and along with the Point HOA. Just keep us up to date with what's happening, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ted. Any additional public comments? Come on up, John.
Thank you. I sit on the environmental
Hey,
committee.
John, name and address, please.
John Mazouk, Maziuk. I won't go down how it ever became about, but I live on 25 Heron Isle Court And I moved up here from Houston for the chemical company that I was working for, wanted me to work in Brussels. And I told them I couldn't do that. And so they put me here because I was in between Philadelphia and DC. And the kind of work that I've always done is as a chemical engineer is from the environmental standpoint. I started with chemical plants and stuff like that, and then I got involved in air pollution and water pollution and things like this. So I was going nuts. I needed to work, and I do volunteering for the Sierra Club. I still consult for the EPA, and then I have the environmental committee here, and I've gone around and collect samples and have them shipped out. And the deal here is it's important to have, we have a group of people and we meet several times a month. And then I have the Sierra Club, I meet with them and we're able to share the information. And also we get our information from outside sources and we bring it in and discuss it. And every once in a while, write an article, which I have done in the papers, to discuss the runoff into the canals and how that affects the organisms in the canal and how it's an interesting comment. If you think about it, you got organisms that are providing a food source for this fish or whatever it would be, and then the fish are also a source of food for people or birds or all kinds of things. And so, and I think when you look at the topography here, and it's very complex because you've got lots of water and land interface, and you got people putting stuff on the yards and in the water, and that affects how those organisms are living. And it's a train. And if you lose one, then you lose another, and then it makes it more difficult. So it might sound simple, but it isn't. It's actually a little more complicated. And that's what we're trying to do. And then, as I said, I also do with Sierra Club. And then I can still consult for the EPA. I can't say I'm not doing stuff like that. And that way I can share the information here and look at the place and see how it goes. And I've taken samples, God knows. I even put up the crossing signs for the duck crossing sign. We did that voluntary. Still got a sore hand. Anyway, I think it's just the committee provides a lot of input and it helps us understand what we're doing and also take information from other areas of this area and in other parts of the world in the United States and try and use that information to help us learn what can be done here and what to do. And that's why I think, when we meet on a regular basis together personally, but in this day and age, you got a laptop, you meet all the time. In fact, too much. Yeah. Sometimes I want to turn my phone off and say, leave me alone. But we love what we do. And I think, not having this committee here, especially when you look at the topography and the water source is wrong. It's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Sharon Kaplan, 32 Chatham Court. I'm going to try not to repeat what everyone else has said about the committees. For the record, I've emailed the board and the GM on my opposition to the slash and burn of all the committees. In my opinion, dissolving all the committees is antithetical to the board embracing transparency and the creation of goodwill that the membership, you can hear right here, is clamoring for. Okay, we may be losing, or we will be losing, vital contact with future leaders of Ocean Pines by dissolving these committees. Case in point, John Viola. who today highlighted his work on various different committees over 20 years here. And if we didn't have those committees, maybe we wouldn't have John Viola as our GM today. And he's very successful. These are the pools where our future leaders are being developed. So I urge you, every one of you, I voted for every one of you. I want to see someone to have the backbone to table this motion today to eliminate every single committee without any conversation, without any further conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I see Bill back there. Come on up, Bill.
Morning, Mr. John. Bill Hayes, 39 Whitehorse. I'll try not to repeat too much either, but again, in regards to the committees, not all the committees were listed. On our website, we have 14 committees listed, and I just assume that your motion means that you're also talking about racket sports and search committee and clubs that they weren't mentioned in your original group, but they're still on our website. So I'm assuming that's ones you're going to axe also. Today it's interesting that we approved $325,000 to go forward on clubs, and it wasn't on the agenda and it wasn't in the committee, and it just kind of just popped up. So that was kind of interesting. But I'm arguing that we need to keep the committees for two reasons. And one is the obvious institutional knowledge and the historical data that's presented by these teams. If you go on site, you can go back and see what we've done with these committees and who made those decisions, and you can see their documentation that tells you what that committee has accomplished over the years. Second, the proposal is also somewhat short-sighted in my mind because it takes into account this team of Linda, the GM, the board, and its existing status, and they're not considering the future. They're not considering when the GM's gone or Linda's gone or select members of the board and their institutional knowledge is gone. They're going to get a new member, and that new member is going to have to look at, I'll pick clubs for whatever reason, even though it's not there. They'll pick clubs and they'll have to ask their predecessor or the committee or the group of institutional knowledge at that point, but they have no historical documents to go backwards to. And I see that as a strength in the committees. We have a current skill and a depth with this group, and I get that. I understand exactly where Jeff's coming from, and I can understand where certain people would like to eliminate certain things and make things easier for themselves. Part of this 8,500 homes is not easy. I'm just saying that we all have an opinion, and it's being expressed by some really good voices that we've heard this morning. I said I picked apart a little bit about what Jeff wrote here everywhere, but I just want to go to this next point. And again, this comment is the loss of the resources that are potentially going to be there. And if you look at the number one person that can't be replaced is Joe Reynolds. He was one of one. He was a committee member that always spoke his voice every day. And if we get rid of these committees and the voice of people like Joe Reynolds, I don't know where we're headed. I really don't. It's going to kill me because I'm going to mention today Marlene Ott, Sharon O'Hare, Marty Clark, Jack Barnes, Dave Walter, specifically in environmental, Gail Blazer, Pat Benner, Tim Peck. I'm just saying that I can go back just from my perspective of what strength we have within our community. And I think getting rid of the committees is short-sighted. It affects this team, but doesn't help the association. That's my point.
Thanks, Bill. Any more public comments before we close the floor?
Name's Giuseppe Giovanni, 96 Whitehorse. I'm a master carpenter, master builder, master mechanic, Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia. I'll just hit a couple things real quick, just for information as a positive, not a negative on this one, all right? This beach club, okay? You're going to have to get those inspectors up there before you start that with an engineer and get them in there and have them explain to you what code book they're using and what the code specifically is on your behalf. Okay? If you don't do that, it can change after your blueprints are done. Okay? You want them to look at that soil and make sure it's going to make the code that they're talking about using. They can change it. Okay, you can get an engineer in there and he'll tell you this footer might work like this or like that. It doesn't hold up. They can come in, you dig holes. If they fill in with water, then you got to change everything. It's going to cost you a lot more money. You with me? Get the code book and ask that Ocean City people what code book and what the requirements are of them. You go up 14 feet, the code is different. Now you're talking about doing 2 stories, right? The code's different. You're talking about doors or some sort of door you want. Make sure it's going to meet the code that you want. Okay, don't let that engineer tell you. I come from strength with engineers. Okay, I've dealt with them. And I don't let them push me around. Okay, get those inspectors up there with yourself one-on-one. Talk to them. Then get your engineer. Okay, same thing with this 20 by 20 exterior kitchen you want to do. Go to Worcester County. Get the inspector. Explain to them what you want to do. Okay, what the footer is going to be. What kind of footer they want. Solid footer, what size they want. If they want a block wall, they want frame, what they prefer. Then you got to get the code straight on the fire extinguishers, the fire sprinklers, all that's critical. And it's going to affect your price. It's going to drive it sky high, or it might not. You're acting like, well, this isn't going to be bad. It's going to be 20 by 20 and it's going to be what, 160,000. And I don't think you're going to come in there. I think you're going to come in at 350, 400. Now you could, maybe you come in under there lower. On this beach club, you're coming in at 250. I don't think you're going to come in at 250. That beach club's going to run you 400, 350. So be careful. I'm with you guys. Okay. I don't have anything to axe to grind with anybody. And I love it here. This is where I like it. I don't know, everybody else has issues and I get that. I get that. But just take your time, get it straight with Ocean City. That code's totally different in Ocean City than it is here. You with me? It's totally different. Get that code book and make sure you know what you're talking about. You're saying you're going to be done in 6 months. It's going to take 2 months just to get it all straightened out with them, with the code. Okay? Then when you get done, you got to dig those holes and make sure that soil's going to take that footer, and they can change that on the fly. And then you got to get that engineer back. He's going to charge you again, and they'll charge you again, and they'll charge you again. They're $400 an hour sometimes. You with me? Okay. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. There aren't, Cheryl? Yes.
Cheryl Jacobs, 1223 Carrollton Lane. Wow. If you want to get people to show up at a meeting, ambush them with a motion like this one has been presented. I'm gobsmacked at what has been proposed here. I hope, listen, I've owned property here since 2001. I've participated on committees, currently am one that's not being eliminated. I've been on the board, a vice president of the board. And committees, I'm kind of old school anyway, but committees are part of our history. Why do you want to eliminate that? If you all have some issues with individuals, work it out. Talk to us. I'm urging you to withdraw this motion, and maybe if there's more to be discussed, schedule a town hall meeting. Talk to more people before you do something this drastic in our history. I worked with people volunteering for the 50th anniversary of this community. That's also part of our history here. I volunteered and worked on the fair that we had for 2 years, where we wanted to let everybody know what a great community this is. And we all agree that it is. We love it here. And we only want to do things to make it better, to improve it for everyone. But this is not the way to go about this. Jeff, how could you do this? I mean, I don't get it at all. And so I'm asking you to withdraw your motion, or I'm asking if it remains, everybody vote against it. This is not the right thing to do now. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any last public? Yes, ma'am. And then we're going to close.
Hi, I'm Judy Ostrom. I lived at 6 Alton Point, and I'm right across I live there now, right across from the park. And I understand a little bit from where Jeff's coming, and I understand where everybody's coming with the committee. And in this,
Yes, ma'am. We can't hear you.
okay.
You just turned it off.
Ready? Okay. In the 25 years I've lived there, right across from this park, the reason it's meant a lot to me is I worked for the Anne Arundel County Recreation and Parks Department. So I see the recreation that's been done here. It's amazing what everyone's done. My concern is about the parks. In the park that I live in, I was told that we couldn't keep it up because it was one of the smaller parks. So everything, all the other larger parks gets more attention. So I took the initiative to go and pull up a plat. We have 4 acres of beautiful recreation park. I had an arborist come in and look at the park, and we've got 160 some trees and shrubs worth a lot of money to Ocean Pines. Another one of my concerns was about this park was that it is right off of the parkway, so people can come in and walk around and enjoy it. But because it was in such bad shape, nobody even knew there was such a thing as Turns Landing Park, which is really, really sad. Really, I think it's really sad. So as a result, I had gotten an arborist to come in and went over all the trees, and we're surrounded by 2 canals, which is really beautiful. It's a beautiful park. And unfortunately, the situation was that the only people that are doing any work in this park, which I am very, very happy to say, is the community members of our community. We have people that come in and have redone the bridge that's there, painted it, dug up all the rocks that were originally there and put it around it. And we've done a lot of work in there. And unfortunately, that we don't have a huge budget in our community, but we do as much as we can. And on Jeff's behalf, I will say this. I got no response at all from the board of directors as far as coming in and looking at this park and doing whatever. I did submit a bill to which thank you so much, Mr. Viola, who never wrote back to me, but did send it back to Public Works. We spent close to $4,000 of our community money on that park. And I asked that we be reimbursed somehow for it. They did reimburse it, but said this is the only time we'll ever do it. We won't do it anymore. It's the Public Works responsibility. I had a very good relationship with Public Works. He said, Judy, it's the smallest one, and we do nothing until the end of the year. So here we are at the end of September, and they've cut the grass twice, and they've done whatever. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is thank you, Jeff. I called because I knew Jeff was on the recreation thing. He came and walked the park. And he said, this is a beautiful park. I said, I know. And it connects to Pine, what is it? It's one it connects to Pintail. So our park connects to Pintail. So everybody comes in and walks now that it's at least picked up all the way around. Not only is this, we don't ask for anything. We don't ask for a dog park. We don't ask for anything. We just ask that the park be maintained and that the trees and everything be looked at through an arborist, because the arborist has said there's several trees in there that need to be maintained. So my feeling is, I think we need a park committee. I think it's really important. So I got several people to come with me to go down to the park committee, but there was only like 2 or 3 people there. So then I get a letter back from the chairman and said, don't have all your people come because it's not going to matter. So I'm a very, very confused resident right now who cares about everything we have here. But where do you go and what do you do? You know, it's like, and I have to say this, our community asked that our mailboxes be replaced because they were rusted. And we got a response back that they do nothing. So our people went in, sanded them down, painted them, labeled them, and you know what? We go and look all around and our people in our neighborhood are going, there's other new mailboxes. How can we connect our mailboxes done?
Thank you, ma'am.
I don't know. So I think we need these committees. So
Thank you very much. Any more public comments? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comments. Thank you. Moving forward to capital requests, there are none. CPI violations, there are none. Unfinished business, there is none. We'll move forward to new business. The Good Neighbor honoree, Elaine.
And if these folks, and I do know that some are here in attendance, if they could come up. If they're not, we will certainly make sure that the folks who weren't able to attend today get their award. Linda Yurchi, Gary Miller, and as they come up, I will give more information. Larry LeCompte, is Larry LeCompte here? Yes. Peggy Thedor. And Joe Wilkinson. And you are?
Larry. I can be this guy if you want.
Yeah.
Ponytail. Yeah.
All right. Larry, you were nominated and receiving this award. And you were actually nominated by 3 different neighbors of yours. As we were told, we would like to nominate our neighbor, Larry LeCompte. Larry is a retired mechanic. He helps his neighbors with cars and boat repairs. If someone is repairing or renovating their house, Larry joins in. If someone is shoveling snow or raking leaves, Larry is coming. If someone is spreading mulch, Larry is there. He tends to neighbors who, due to health issues, temporarily need a helping hand. He will also go with a neighbor out of town to transport a vehicle or work on a project if needed. Larry knows all his neighbors by first name. Everyone needs a Larry, and I'm glad that we have ours. He is loved. That is from one of your neighbors. Another one of the neighbors said, first, he brings a smile to everyone's face. He's always happy, always has a great story to tell. Larry helps everyone in the neighborhood with a project that they are working on. No questions asked. He just pitches in and helps. There is no project too big or too small. I think I might move into your neighborhood. Another person said, there is one guy that everyone on Brookside knows. It is Larry LeCompte. Larry walks his dog Ruby several times a day. They are a happy pair. While on their walks, Larry talks to most folks who are in their yard or driveway. On those walks, Larry saw my husband and neighbor and me trying to jumpstart my car. He came right over, helped, got the car started, explained why jumping the car a certain way was important. He came back, tested the battery, saw it was low and might not recharge. He loaned them a portable jumper box to make sure it did not get stranded. Then there was a time that a small dead tree was blown over in our backyard. Larry came over to help to make sure we got it down safely. Larry helped move a recliner chair from one house to the next. That's a big job. To help out a neighbor who had recent medical issues. He just got it done. He is a wealth of knowledge, practical experience, and in several ways, a willing attitude and helpful personality. Larry deserves a recognition as a good neighbor.
I want you to know that they drive me.
There you go. Very well earned. Yeah. You're welcome. Yes, I know you from the yacht club dancing with the band. One of your neighbors said that, Kelsey Moran, we are new to Ocean Pines, and Joe came over, introduced himself, and answered a lot of our questions. He gave us his phone number and told us to text, call anytime. He is part of the firehouse and invited us to join. He also invited us to community events. I know he helps others in other neighbors with their yard work that are older. He always speaks and helps us so much to get caught up on neighbor happenings and where to find information. His wife, Vicki, is wonderful too, and found our mailing list that we lost, and she took the time to find it the right owner. Both of them are very active in the community, and so we would like them to receive this award. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Peggy Sador.
She wasn't sure she could make it. She has.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure that she gets that. And for Linda and Gary Miller, it's a joint one. So he left. Okay. You have been nominated by Cindy and Communications Committee. Yes. Said volunteers do not necessarily have the time, they have the heart. Elizabeth Andrew, this quote that was a quote. The quote represents Linda Yurchie and Gary Miller, according to Director Monica Rakowski. Linda and Gary are leaders in our community. Linda as chair of the Communications Advisory Committee and Gary as chair of the Aquatics Advisory Committee. Both spend many hours working for their various committees and are truly dedicated. They joined forces to host the Ocean Pines season kickoff event in 2024 at White House Park. The event was so successful that after a second year, it was moved to a larger Veterans Memorial Park and is now established annual event that will be managed by Ocean Pines. The event shows the numerous offerings of our great community, including our amenities, clubs, and sporting opportunities, as well as the many businesses and restaurants that enhance our lives here in Ocean Pines. The Ocean Pines season opener required months of work on their part, coordinating a team of volunteers, working with OPA, local businesses, and more to create an event that is fun, educational, and shows off the best of what Ocean Pines has to offer. So for this, your efforts for both you, and we will make sure that Gary gets it. Thank you.
You and John and the winners.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to do that now or.
Yeah, we'll do it at the end,
Okay.
but deserving.
Thank you to all. Public comments are over, sir. We could. Sir. Sir, public comments are over. We could speak after the meeting if you like. The Megan, next we'll have Megan Smith with the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lower Eastern Shore. Is that right? Entire Eastern Shore. Take it away, Megan.
All right. Yeah, all 9 counties. So I'm Megan. I'm an Ocean Pines resident for about 5 years. I started working with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Eastern Shore about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, so our mission, vision, so to ignite the power and promise of youth through mentoring, relationships, and enrichment, and the vision, all youth achieve their full potential. So basically, what we do is we facilitate mentoring between children who are facing adversity in the community, and we match them with volunteer mentors. It's 4 hours a month, a minimum of 1 year. Just to give an example of one of our mentors, we have a few in Ocean Pines. We serve Ocean Pines, Pocomoke, Berlin, and Snow Hill. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, so if you can bear with me. Yeah, so one of our mentors here, he was in Baltimore for like 20 years. He fostered 9 children. He adopted 5 of them. He moved here about 1 year ago, and he wanted to give back in that way. Another of our mentors, she was an honoree for the Good Neighbor program. You can see her up there in the picture at the top. Her name's Missy, and she mentors a young girl in Snow Hill. So who are the Littles? The Littles, their children, 6 to 16 years old, facing adversity. Oftentimes they're in a single parent home or live with their grandparents in foster care or adopted. Often they have an incarcerated parent or loved one. Some are in juvenile justice involvement. A lot have a family history of drug use, so they're being raised by alternate parent guardians. And some, have been affected by opioids. We have a young girl that I just enrolled, I would say a few months ago. She's about 3 to 4 miles from here. She lived with her father in Florida. She was bullied so bad that they had to bring her into homeschool, and then decided to bring her up here to be with her mom. She's in a low-income family, and she's started school this year, but she's looking for a mentor to kind of help with self-confidence, help her feel seen, help her feel valued. So I get to interact with a lot of really cool people, a lot of really cool families, a lot of really cool children. I was a mentor myself when I was in college. So why mentor? Oh, sorry, our impact. Yeah, so we do surveys throughout the year. We keep up on a monthly basis with every single person in our program. And in 2023, 99% of the children in our program showed improvement in self-confidence. 99% showed improvement in ability to express feelings. 93% showed an improved sense of the future, which is a big deal because a lot of the children, all they know is incarceration, drugs, the mentor who did the fostering, he said he wants them to know there's a different way, a different outcome you can have for life. And 99% showed improved decision-making abilities. One of the girls that I just enrolled and got matched, she had so much trouble at the match meeting. She couldn't sit still. She was crying. She was whining. She was 8 years old. She was actually, at the time, homeless. She lived in a shelter with her mom. I just got an update from her mentor, who sent me a picture of a Princess Tea Party event they went to. And she said that a lot of those behaviors have dissipated, that the one-on-one time has really been a benefit to her. Okay, so partnership opportunities. Being a mentor is kind of what I'm here to talk about. And just to repeat, it's 4 hours a month. That's like 2 2-hour activities or 4 1-hour activities. And as you could see with our impact report, even that can make a huge difference. We also have events where we always need staff, pass out flyers or make phone calls, be an intern, even host an activity. So we had someone host an event for the children where they got to learn about nutrition and healthy exercise and things like that. We also have something called the Big Dream Fund. It's where children, they need something like maybe they want to go to a summer camp or they want a bike for Christmas. If someone could sponsor that and help us get that for them, then we can help them, meet their dream. And of course, we always have donations. We accept in kind or any other types of donations. Okay, so why mentor? The big one, making a difference. Lifelong friendship is really important. We have one mentor who ended up being a groomsman in his mentee's wedding. They met when he was 9, and the relationship even after the child aged out. It's also cool because I'm sure that so many of you have lessons you've learned in life. You have skills, you have things that you've mastered, you've got wisdom. To be able to share that with a child also makes a really big difference. And it helps you, so. Okay, so community-based mentoring, one-on-one. The kids and the mentors meet in the community. They get to choose their activities. We're also trying to do site-based at Buckingham. They meet in the school, one-on-one. Go ahead. We also would love to get a program going where the children actually go into workplaces with their mentors to help them learn job building skills and see some different opportunities that they could have to work and support themselves when they're older. And then I don't think we've talked to you about this yet, but we would love to do something Bigs with Badges, connecting the littles with police officers and firemen in the community. It helps them, feel part of the community. Okay, so real quick, child enrollment process. They sign up. We usually get referrals from schools, social services agencies. We do an interview. We make sure the child wants to be part of it. We make sure the family is a good fit, doesn't pose any safety risks. Mentor enrollment process. Same thing, we get your application, we do an interview with you, we learn about you, what your preferences are, what you hope to get from the relationship. We do a really extensive background search for child safety, fingerprinting, and then we give training videos. One thing that is really, really helpful for us is just raising awareness in the community. So, I like to go over the how I can help section, network on our behalf, arrange presentations. Thank you all for letting me present. If there's information tables at events that you know of, there are opportunities, let me know. You can share our e-news, you can share our social media, and invite us to your places of worship or your civic service organizations to maybe give a small brief presentation as well. I went through programs and resources, so I'm just going to let you know one thing. We also do school supply, hygiene supply, and holiday gift supply drives for the children and their families. So we also have a big event coming up right here at the Ocean Pines Golf Club, December 6th. We call it Santa's Open. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. There's sponsorship opportunities as well as opportunities to just sign up to be a golfer. It's really fun. People usually dress up in holiday. We do a breakfast, we do a raffle, we do a silent auction, and everyone seems to have a good time. I've done it once and I really enjoyed myself. So yeah, so if you guys are interested, you can always email me, the support@shorebiglittle.org. You can, if you have questions for me, I'm happy to stay and talk to you. The phone number is the office number, but I'm actually going to give you guys also my work cell. I'll just say it, 302-524-7040. That's a great way to get in touch with me too, if you have questions or interest. So thank you all. I appreciate you sticking around to listen.
Thank you very much for everything you do. We'll move on to motion to terminate advisory committees. Jeff?
Thank you, John. I bring forth a motion to terminate the aquatics, bylaws and resolutions, communications, environment and natural assets, golf, marine activities, recreation and parks, and the strategic planning advisory committees. The purpose and effect is to discontinue the existence of the listed committees as standing board advisory committees. For reasons stated below and after due consideration, in favor of future ad hoc committees and working groups that are assigned specific and clearly identified tasks by the board. The background is the above listed committees are purely advisory in nature under OPA's governing documents existing at the pleasure of the OPA board. As stated in Board Resolution CO1, OPA's governing documents authorize the board to establish advisory committees as may be necessary to or convenient in the association's discharging of its duties. Advisory committees take direction from the board and provide requested advice to the board, and under Resolution CO1 are encouraged to provide recommendations to the board that will enhance the management and functioning of the association. Although the efforts of all volunteers are greatly appreciated, the committees listed above are, in my view, no longer necessary, at least on a standing and continuous basis, as OPA's management and department team has grown in size and in depth of talent and capability. The above listed advisory committees, in seeking in good faith ways to make contributions to the association, have increasingly formulated ideas and plans that are not practical or feasible and/or in keeping with the board and management goals and priorities. This dynamic has resulted too often in unproductive conflict and disagreement between the above listed committees on the one hand, and the board members or OPA management on the other hand, which is not advancing the best interest of the association or its members. And the lines of communication between the above listed committees and the board and/or management has become inefficient and strained. The board itself obviously has an important and required corporate governance role in this HOA, which in this board's view would be best supported by ad hoc committees and temporary working groups focused on particular identified tasks, rather than standing advisory committees that are often
in search of initiatives that may or may not be in sync with board strategy and planning. Further, the general manager and management team have responsibility for the many operational concerns of the association, and in my judgment, they can fulfill that role most effectively when the board and its supporting committees focus on policy and corporate governance rather than on operations. We want there to be a useful and effective ways for operational concerns to be brought to the attention of the OPA management. I believe strongly that suggestions, comments, and questions from members sent via email to info@oceanpines.org has become the most effective way to accomplish this. And of course, such concerns can also be raised during board meetings or via emails to the board.
Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, looking for a second.
Second.
Discussion. Stuart, go ahead.
Yeah, I know this is a contentious issue, and we have a lot of very passionate people that want to volunteer, but we've gotten to the point where we've grown where we want to put more of this talent to better use. I mean, we have, when Ocean Pines was first started in 68, I think, pretty sure it was 68, the general manager needed these committees to help make decisions on how to run Ocean Pines. You know, as we've grown to over 8,500 homes, we have about 14,000 full-time residents. That swells to about 23 or 24,000 people during the season. And we've grown to the point where we have department heads that report to our GM that have the expertise to run these departments, agree or disagree. Listen, we talked about OPA Day. That wasn't a committee, that was an ad hoc committee. We talk about other aspects. It may have been born. Why can't these people that are in these committees, why can't it be a club? Why can't we have clubs that advise? So
everyone, we need to show some decorum.
we're
Let-
part of the
let-
discussion
let Stuart
process.
Finish.
So, I mean, agree or disagree, we have talented people. We have a group that's maintaining a graveyard that they found. We have the women's group that maintains Pintail Park and our Arbor Day. These are not committees. The committee didn't run OPA Day. It may have been born. Hold on, no, please sit, please sit. An ad hoc group worked it, but agree or disagree, an ad
Hang on a
hoc.
second, Stuart. Let's be professional and big boys and girls with this, all right, okay? The heckling's it's not cute at all.
I'll leave it there.
Elaine?
I'm going to make it very quick and just in general. You know, I understand that, you know, a lot of you are not happy about this. I am disappointed in the heckling. I think that we need to be adults and try to work things out. I think we all agree that it's not the people who have been on the committees. We value every one of them. I have been on committees, and I know that the time and effort that it takes, it's the process that needs to be changed. It needs to be more efficient and effective for everybody. And so there are ways that we need to look at to do that at this point, at least in my view. And I think, you know, all of you have expertise and you have a lot of ideas, but part of the committee process, I think, which could be bettered, is that we have, you know, about 50 people on our committees. We have over 8,500 homes. There are an awful lot of people who are participating who do have, you know, a lot of expertise, a lot of additional opinions. that can also be heard and are welcomed to be heard. And I think it's easier sometimes if they don't have the constraints of having to attend a monthly meeting. I think there's other ways that we can look at the process to include everybody and to try to grow those voices. And really, for those reasons, I will be supporting this. I think that our board does have a responsibility to work with all of you to help constitute these groups, because I do think that you have great ideas, and we, try as much as we can for what is feasible. So anyway, I just think going forward that why I know it's contentious, it's a very big change. I do think that dragging it out over a longer period of time by just suspending the committees isn't the way to do it. And that we really do want to find a better way to hear everybody's voices.
Jeff?
Thank you, John. Listen, I brought this motion because I believe it's time to try a different approach. Using ad hoc, working groups, as Stuart pointed out, even clubs, where we can still value the expertise and experience of all the association members. Listen, I didn't come to this position without talking and listening to a lot of people over the last probably 8 months. I've talked to existing chair people. I've talked to past chair people. I've talked to existing committee members, past committee members, and I am very visible in this community. And wherever I go, I ask questions. I'm not sitting behind a keyboard. I ask a lot of questions, and they're not baited questions. And the majority answer to the reason this motion came about was they supported this. That's where it came from. I have no obligation to share that with you.
Jeff, hang tight. Look, folks, if you can't be professional and show Director Hevner the same respect that he's showing, you're going to be asked to leave.
Ocean Pines has evolved into a thriving professional association, able to fulfill our mission to provide value and quality of way of life for our residents. This motion to restructure standing advisory committees, in my viewpoint, marks a waypoint to safely navigate towards more useful, effective, and flexible ways to solicit ideas and opinions from the individual talents and experience of our association members. It's time to alter course. Planning our routes using ad hoc committees, temporary working groups, we know it works. We've done it. That focus on specific tasks that will aid in the continued success journey of our association. And like Elaine said, change is difficult. This is a bold move. I believe that this approach, using volunteers working collaboratively towards a well-defined goal over short periods of time, will enhance the experience of all involved and provide a forum for even more voices. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Stuart?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, this is not eliminating folks. This is restructuring to make better use of your talent. And listen, our ops team is right on top of info@oceanpines.org. Anytime anybody has come up to me with a problem, some suggestion, I tell them to email info@oceanpines.org, tag me. Let me tell you, Linda jumps right on that stuff. The ops team is right there. And to echo Director Hevner's position, change is tough. But I think that we can better use the talent in maybe a different way.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, John. Look, we've sat here for several hours, and I think the passion that the audience has brought to this meeting is self-evident. Participatory democracy is meant to be a bumpy road. nothing is going to be given to anybody. And to suggest in part that the answer is to eliminate one set of practices and rely on another set of practices, the middle ground would be to maintain both. No question that OP Day was a great success with an ad hoc committee. But you have to ask yourself if the board is willing to basically meet cleavers of series of standing committees with the volunteers led by Gary and Linda be willing to undertake that responsibility on an ad hoc basis. One does not replace the other. They serve different purposes. To me, there's two issues. One is substantive, which deals with precisely Jeff's resolution, the status of the advisory committees. The second is procedural. How do we, as an HOA, address the substantive question? I have no issue with reviewing the status or role of each advisory committee. There are a variety of changes that could be made. Consolidation, elimination, clubs, task force, ad hoc committees are all possible. We need to recognize, however, that there's a difference between operations and governance. The advisory committees, and by the way, for that matter, clubs, ad hoc committees, and any other entity you want to create should have nothing to do with operations. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I will take at face value the comments made by individuals today as to the value of these standing committees, as well as the comments of my fellow board members, in particular, how they value all those who volunteer their time. But before we eliminate all or some of these committees, we should be cognizant that these are our neighbors who want to be involved, believe they can make a contribution, may well have experience, background, interest, or maybe just a hobby in the subject matter of these committees. In short, outright elimination of these committees should be either the last step or part of a larger plan to consider how we structure our own governance. No question, over the last few years, issues have come up regarding several of our committees. And in fairness, these problems do not just lie at the feet of the committees and the committee members. 2 years ago, the Executive Council met. There were 5 to 6 committee chairs, all of whom in one form or another told the president at that time, we have a communications problem. We are not hearing back from our liaison. We're not hearing back from our board. We keep sending these documents up and nothing happens. And you've heard it reiterated again today. On top of that, at the last year's meeting, we had Rec and Parks come in concerned about the gym floor. And they were concerned about the pipes underneath the floor that were, they thought, and they think, and maybe they're right, I don't even know, but the cause for the floor separating and cracking. Only to be told this matter was resolved because we're going to have a contract, the board's going to approve it in 2 weeks. The committee had been looking at this for a couple of months. Nobody bothered to tell the committee. So while there has been some discussions regarding advisory committees over the last several months, or at least to the best of my knowledge, maybe over the last few weeks, among individual board members, these 2 resolutions have been made public only in the last few days. An open discussion of how to proceed is the best way to consider this matter. This is not intended to be a delay for the sake of delay. It is meant to give everyone interested a chance to discuss and maybe even agree on the path forward. We could conclude this consideration on a date certain. The memo is only slightly more than doing absolutely nothing to inform the members. The platitudes in the memorandum, the claims that were being made, et cetera, I think in my mind have been effectively rebutted by the people who spoke earlier. So as a procedural matter, here's my suggestion. I would suggest the following: that the board table a vote on the pending resolution until the November board meeting. By the way, there's a second resolution pending, which requires a first reading and a second reading. So we're not really hampering anything dealing with what the ultimate goal of the author of these 2 resolutions may seek. That between now and the November board meeting, the president can convene an open meeting of the Executive Council to discuss this resolution. To the fullest extent possible, each of the affected committees should meet and make any recommendations they would like to see prior to the Executive Council meeting. And then at the November board meeting, the second reading of the motion to repeal the various C resolutions take place, as well as the vote on this. And while I'm not ready to make the motion, I'd be more than happy to see a show of hands among my colleagues who could support something like this. And there we go.
Just as a point of order, if there's no motion, there's nothing.
I
for
didn't
people to
make a
show hands
motion.
on.
I was asking simply for
I
a show of
understand. I'm
hands.
making a point of order.
Thank you for your comments. We have witnessed outstanding financial health for Ocean Pines and, as a general sense, widespread enjoyment of our amenities and our community in general. The suggestion that in some fashion some of our committees are hamstringing our operations staff is, in my opinion, a reach. The only well-oiled, smooth-running machine we need in our operation is our operations staff, led by our GM, our department heads, and the staff, all of whom do a great job. However, we should recognize that each of the department heads and the GM have enough to do and should not be expected to see or hear about each question or matter that may arise. It's just possible that our volunteers come up with suggestions or find ideas not previously considered. Leaving it to contact AskOceanPines.org or to take advantage of the open door policy of our general manager just adds work to those who already have to deal with a host of other day-to-day activities: staffing, budget, maintenance, supply, crisis of the day, whatever you want to call it. The advisory committees have been chartered to advise the board and only the board. Part of our job as board members is to act as a buffer between operations, the committees, and the general membership. We are the ones to take the complaints, the gripes, the slings and arrows, whether justified or not, with what takes place here in Ocean Pines. On rare occasions, it might even be necessary for the board to ask operations to recalibrate or reconsider or take something else under advisement. But it makes no difference whether it comes from an individual, a committee, a club, or a task force. I've enjoyed my role as liaison to the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, which has virtually no interaction with operations at all, and in all probability be considered and should be considered separately from any wholesale elimination of advisory committees. Additionally, as the liaison of the Golf Committee, I can state they have an outstanding relationship with those who manage and run our golf course, Bob and Justin. They work cooperatively with both. And I am convinced that the members of that committee know every blade of grass, every tree that lines every fairway, and could tell you the trees that were cut down 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and 4 years ago to make the course better and better and better. And they know every frog that croaks in every pond on the golf course. As a whole, they are an excellent resource for the staff that runs that course. And I have been instructed to tell you that they oppose elimination of the golf committee. There's a great deal of work to work through on this matter. And this is really earth-shattering, if you will. Take Cheryl's comment. She just can't believe it. I'm sort of in that boat. We can take the time to do it in the open with all the stakeholders involved, with enough time to consider what needs to be done, or take to heart the sentiment expressed just a few months ago at our annual dinner that our volunteers are what makes Ocean Pines great. Or we can rush this through so that next year's celebration of the remaining committees will be considerably smaller. At the tiki bar, cash bar, bowl of chips, bring your own salsa.
Thank you, Steve. So the motion's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Nay. That motion passes. The next. The next, we'll move on to the first reading to repeal committee associated resolutions. Jeff.
Thank you, John. Based on the termination of certain advisory committees and in the event the motion to terminate those committees is approved, which it was, aquatics, bylaws and resolutions, communications, environment and natural assets.
Hang on a second, Jeff. Folks, the meeting's not over. If you're staying, please have a seat. If not. Thank you. Go ahead, Jeff.
The committees, aquatics, bylaws and resolutions, communications, environment and natural assets, golf, marine activities, recreation and parks, and strategic planning. This is a first reading as to the proposed repeal in their entirety of those committee associated resolutions. C15, Aquatics Advisory Committee. CO4, Bylaws and Resolutions Advisory Committee. CO6, Communications Advisory Committee. C10, Environment and Natural Assets Advisory Committee. C11, Golf Advisory Committee. C12, Marine Activities Advisory Committee. C13, Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee, and CO7, Strategic Planning Advisory Committee. The purpose and effect, the above listed resolutions define the purpose and functions of the advisory committees, which are proposed to be terminated through a motion by myself, Director Hevner. In the event that the motion is approved by the board and those committees are thereby terminated, the board resolutions associated with those committees should be repealed in their entirety. The background, the above listed committees are purely advisory in nature under OPA's governing documents, existing at the pleasure of the OPA board. As stated in Board Resolution CO1, OPA's governing documents authorize the board to establish advisory committees as may be necessary to or convenient in the association's discharging of its duties. Advisory committees take direction from the board and provide requested advice to the board, and under Resolution CO1 are encouraged to provide recommendations to the board that will enhance the management and functioning of the association. In the event of the termination of the above listed advisory committees, for the reasons stated in the motion seeking their termination, the repeal of the associated advisory committee resolutions is a necessary and related step, and this is a first reading as to such repeal as required under Resolution B01.
Thank you, Jeff. For the board, any discussion? Thank you, Jeff. We'll have a second reading at the next board meeting. Moving on, appointments. Can I have a motion for Sherry Clifford for first term Budget and Finance Committee? Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? That motion passes. Welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? That motion passes. Welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee, Sherry Clifford. Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? That motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.